Chapter 2077. A storm was coming. The entire blood python lair was in an uproar. Many blood python beast lords rushed out from the depths of the blood python lair. There were so many of them that they looked like locusts. Every single one of them obeyed the orders of the blood python king, Tawan. Moreover, this matter concerned the dignity of the blood python beast clan. If a human barged into their lair and stole their clan's most precious treasure, how would the blood python beast clan survive in the turbulent void space? They would become a laughing stock. Capture them. They must capture them. Every single blood python had mustered all their strength. Their mournful eyes were filled with murderous intent as they treated the entire blood python lair as a battlefield. In an instant, they were in a state of panic and danger was everywhere. The forbidden Blackland and the forbidden Wildland were even more heavily guarded. Many blood python beast lords were stationed there, keeping a close watch. Not even a speck of dust could fly out. T1 was certain that Li Feng, who had stolen their clan's treasure, was still in one of the two forbidden areas. However, he did not know which forbidden area he was in. It was not easy to search for him, as he was afraid that Li Feng would escape. Moreover, he had a foolproof plan. After guarding the entrance of the blood python lair, T1 seemed to have turned into a statue as he meditated and recovered from his injuries. After all, there was only one entrance to the blood python lair. It was both an entrance and an exit. No matter where Li Feng was hiding, he would have to leave through the entrance. Waiting for him was the safest way. T1 was not afraid of wasting time. To him, even 1,000 years would pass in the blink of an eye. What's going on? Why are there so many blood python beast commanders and even blood python beast lords here? Master Chu's expression was grave. When he first entered the blood stallion's lair, everything was smooth sailing. However, a few years ago, the situation suddenly changed. The blood stallions seemed to have gone mad. When they saw him, their eyes glowed and they tried their best to kill him. His strength was not bad. He could deal with the blood python beast commanders. However, it was difficult for him to deal with the blood python beast lords. Moreover, even those blood python beast commanders appeared in groups, one after another, like a continuous tide. It was impossible to resist the encirclement of the blood python beast commanders. Master Chu, who had been high-spirited at the beginning, was now in a sorry state. He had suffered a huge setback. Being ranked 18th on the Origin Awakening list was not omnipotent. This was the lair of one of the strongest clans in the turbulent void space, the blood-devouring beast clan. Retreat. Although Master Chu wanted to search for treasures, he did not dare to go too deep. The stronger one was, the more careful they would be, and the more they would cherish their lives. Otherwise, they wouldn't have lived for so long. Revenge was important, but to Master Chu, his life was more important. Without his life, there was no need to talk about revenge. That demonic blade King Lin Feng's strength is mediocre. He must be near the entrance of the cave. Master Chu snorted coldly with a steely expression. Even he could not stop the danger in the depths of the blood python lair, not to mention the mediocre demonic blade King Lin Feng. Master Chu had already investigated and understood the strength of demonic blade King Lin Feng. Indeed, he was very powerful to be able to kill Magic Flute. But that was all. Let's see if your luck is good, demonic blade king. Master Chu's eyes were cold. If you die under the claws of the blood python beast, you can die faster. But if I catch you, I will make you beg for death. Beg for death. The blood color mire was calm. 20 years passed in a flash. Lin Feng returned from the sacred land of the blood python lair. From the initial slow pace, his speed gradually became faster and faster, heading straight for the Black Forbidden Land. It's faster than expected by 80 years. Lin Feng smiled. Originally, it was estimated that it would take about 100 years to open the way. But with the source of the sacred land as the source, even though the speed was slower, there was no need to rest and recover. The speed was much faster. In just 20 years, he was already close to the top of the blood-colored mire. After all, it took him a total of 1,100 years to descend from the top. The efficiency was much lower. The dark ball of light, must be quite a valuable pinnacle true treasure. Lin Feng wanted to merge immediately, but he knew that with his current strength, he could not control it. Forceful merging might backfire on him. No hurry. To him now, the most important thing was to refine the supreme blood python horns. 4 supreme blood python horns can help me improve my 4 great Tao of darkness from the 3rd stage to the 4th stage of perfection. My strength will definitely increase by a huge margin. Lin Feng had a clear plan and plan in mind. He needed time. He also needed a quiet and secluded place to train. He only needed 1,000 years to completely refine the 4 supreme blood python horns and raise his strength to another level. Although the turbulent void was a great reincarnation this time, it would open an era which was 10,000 years. Now, only 3,000 years had passed. Even if he trained for another 1,000 years, it would be more than enough. But Lin Feng knew that his time limit was different from other experts, because the lifespan of the Milky Way was almost up. Before entering the turbulent void, I've already spent 3,300 years. Now, another 3,000 years have passed. The last 3,000 years. Lin Feng could not stay until the last moment to return to the Milky Way. His strength had reached the level of a God-level expert, and his combat power had reached the level of a high-level God-level expert. After 3,000 years, even if he could not reach the level of a God-level expert, he would at least have the combat power of a pinnacle God-level expert. When he returned to the Milky Way, he would have greater confidence and confidence. In the last 3,000 years, Lin Feng planned to go to the meteorite turbulent void. That was the most ancient and central area of the entire turbulent void. It was the core of the origin awakened continent and even the entire wandering planet. That place had the strongest energy. That place had the strongest life forms. That place had endless opportunities. It even contained the secret of the wandering planet. It was imperative. Lin Feng was extremely interested in the meteorite turbulent void. But first, I have to leave here. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He was already close to the top of the blood-colored mud pool. His aura spread out. Without the support of the dark light ball, the blood-colored mud pool was no longer obstructed, and he could sense it clearly. So many auras. It seems that my whereabouts have been exposed. Lin Feng was not surprised. Before coming out, he had already prepared for the worst. After 20 years, the blood-maned Beast King must have searched the entire Holy Land, but he still could not find the supreme blood-maned horn. With his understanding of the blood-maned Beast King's lair, it was completely possible for him to find his whereabouts. However, he doesn't seem to be here. Lin Feng was slightly relieved. If he sensed the blood-maned Beast King's aura, he did not need to think about anything and just directly escaped. If he fought head-on, he had no chance of winning. But without the blood-maned Beast King here, what was there to be afraid of? Bang! The blood-colored mud spread out, and Lin Feng flew into the sky. Chapter 2078. Back to the ancient palace. Lin Feng looked down from his vantage point. What he saw was a dense horde of blood python beasts. He couldn't find any ordinary blood python beasts. The weakest among them were blood python beast commanders. There were even a large number of blood python beast lords. There were more than 10,000 blood-maned beast commanders and more than 100 blood-maned beast lords in the palace alone. Including those outside the palace, the number was even more shocking. This formation was vast and majestic. It was like a huge net had been opened, waiting for him to arrive. But he hadn't spent the last 1,100 years in vain. He had already mastered the top-tier, excellent, true treasure, Black Lotus, and his saber's omniscience had reached 100% perfection. He had mastered the 1,000 obscuring heavenly blade. He could already unleash 100% of the power of the 5th move, 1,000 obscuring heavenly blade. It could be said that his saber technique was close to mastery. Among all the God-level experts, there is almost no one whose saber technique or sword technique was stronger than Lin Feng's. At most, they were close. Spatial disorder. The moment Lin Feng appeared, he unfurled his wings of warmth. Before the blood-maned beast could react, he attacked first. This was different from the sacred grounds. Although the dark energy was strong, it wasn't enough to suppress the spatial energy. Moreover, the Forbidden Black Land had changed a lot because of the lack of the Dark Light Ball. The control of darkness wasn't as strong as before. Tears of Chaos. Lin Feng raised his hand and attacked straight ahead. Lin Feng's blade light flashed, forcibly opening up a path. Lin Feng darted out like a beam of light. He wasn't stupid. Even though his strength had improved greatly, he wasn't so arrogant as to think that he could go head-to-head with more than 100 blood-maned beast lords. He might be able to kill a few, but once surrounded, dying 100 times wouldn't be enough. The blood-maned Beast King isn't here. The moment Lin Feng left the hall, his senses were clear, including the group of blood-devouring beasts outside. Their strength distribution and numbers were clear. There were tens of thousands of them. Such a formation was terrifying. But it was useless. Without the blood-maned Beast King, the strongest blood-maned beast overlord couldn't stop Lin Feng. Perhaps it could match Lin Feng, but fighting and entanglement were two different things. Roar! Ewo! The furious roars of the blood succubi rang out continuously. The entire area was filled with the blood python commanders, but the blood python lords were even bigger. No matter how big the ancient palace was, it couldn't accommodate so many blood python beasts fighting at the same time. In this chaotic area, the blood python overlord found it difficult to even move. But Lin Feng was different. Humans were small to begin with, and Lin Feng had the wings of warmth, a top-tier excellent treasure. He was also proficient in the great Daos of light speed and dark matter. He was quite good at dodging and teleporting. Most importantly, outside of the ancient palace was the Forbidden Black Land, where the space of dark matter had changed. He had hunted there for 300 years and killed tens of thousands of blood devourers. The ever-changing space was a natural shelter. As long as one was strong enough, they could easily protect themselves. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lin Feng was like a dancing butterfly. His body kept changing, and the wings of warmth performed space disorder. The chaotic situation became even worse. Many blood python lords were roaring in anger, but they couldn't do anything to Lin Feng. They were good at close-range attacks, but they couldn't get close at all. How much battle strength could they exert? They couldn't lock onto Lin Feng's position with their long-range attacks. Blood python beasts indeed lack intelligence. Lin Feng thought to himself. In fact, he didn't need so many blood python lords. If they really wanted to surround him, they only needed to place 100 blood python lords here, and he wouldn't be able to escape. At that time, he would have to return to the blood mire to hide. But once his whereabouts were exposed, the blood python Beast King would quickly lock onto him. Right now, the tens of thousands of blood python beasts that had appeared out of nowhere were not of any help. Instead, they had become natural obstacles, trapping the blood python beasts in one area like chains. Whoosh! Lin Feng rushed out of the ancient palace in an instant. The area in front of him suddenly opened up, but there were still countless blood python lords in all directions. They were densely packed, but they didn't have a system and were fighting on their own. Great Brahma! Lin Feng spread out his domain. The powerful space domain made Lin Feng's mind extremely clear. In an instant, he had a clear path. The black dragon in his hand emitted a dazzling light, and the source of the Holy Land suddenly erupted. Mandarin Duck Tai. Lin Feng retreated and defended at the same time. Hei Tung was like a magnet, attracting all attacks and returning them to the blood-sucking beast in the blink of an eye. It was a defensive technique similar to the Great Universal Shift and was extremely suitable for this group battle. His footsteps were like stepping on a 7-star array. With the help of Great Brahma's ability, Lin Feng clearly calculated every position, every attack, and every dodge. He gradually escaped from his original position outside the ancient palace. He was getting closer and closer to the membrane barrier. The blood python lords were so angry that they roared. Their continuous attacks couldn't do anything to Lin Feng. However, the area was much wider now. As many blood python lords retreated, more and more blood python lords joined in the encirclement. Lin Feng's situation was getting more and more dangerous. However, that wasn't the case. It's about time. Lin Feng used Mandarin duck Tai again with a calm expression. It was as if a pair of Mandarin ducks were dancing in the void. The black dragon shone brightly, as if it was extremely excited and its blood was boiling. Huh! Lin Feng's eyes were wide open. The dark demonic patterns appeared one by one. It had reached its limit, the limit of the fourth stage. 1,100 years later, Lin Feng would not only be able to fight one against 3, he would even be able to fight one against 10 blood-flea beast overlords. 10,000 annihilation. It was a destructive move. He gathered all his strength and blasted out with the saber. It was as if the sky was breaking. Amidst the violent vibrations, the saber's in-mastery realm was 100% unleashed. The terrifying attack combined with the explosive power of the source of the Holy Land and the enhancement of the terrain. At this moment, Lin Feng could be said to be invincible. Boom! 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 The airflow dispersed. Lin Feng's chest felt heavy, as if he had been struck by lightning. The power of the attack was so strong that even he almost couldn't withstand it, let alone the blood python lords. Roar! Woo-ao! Roars and cries of pain sounded one after another. The horde of blood python beast lords were completely stunned by this attack. Who would have thought that the humans they were encircling would suddenly unleash such a terrifying attack? In an instant, many of them were killed or injured. The losses were heavy. Bang! With the help of the reaction force, Lin Feng broke the barrier and escaped. Hua! The entire process was flawless. The blood python lords didn't expect that the human could escape from such an inescapable trap. It was too unbelievable. Roar! Boom! The blood python lords and commanders chased after him, their faces filled with fear. If the king knew that they had allowed this human to escape, they would die. The consequences of their actions would be dire. They had to kill him. Chapter 2079. Lin Feng shuttled through the ever-changing dark matter space. The path to the entrance of the Black Forbidden Land appeared clearly in his mind. He had hunted here for 300 years, so he had already figured out the path to the Black Forbidden Land, including the rules of the dark matter. He would leave as fast as he could. With his current strength, it wouldn't be difficult for him to kill tens of thousands of blood python commanders and hundreds of blood python lords in a few hundred years. It would be a great harvest, much more than what he had hunted here for 300 years. However, it was too dangerous. He had nothing to worry about before, but now the blood python beast king was eyeing him covetously. The longer he stayed, the more dangerous it would be. If he stayed in the Black Forbidden Land, he would expose his position completely, and the blood python beast king would definitely arrive soon. Moreover, he had already obtained 6 supreme blood python horns, so the value of high-grade blood python horns had greatly decreased. It wasn't worth it to spend another few hundred years. They might not expect me to leave the Black Forbidden Land directly, so they will definitely search here for a while. Lin Feng knew very well that with the intelligence of the blood python lords, they wouldn't be able to chase him out of the Black Forbidden Land. The space here was constantly changing, so searching for someone was like searching for a needle in a haystack. As long as he could leave immediately, he would be able to shake off the tens of thousands of pursuers. Since the blood python lords are guarding the Black Forbidden Land, then the Wild Forbidden Land is probably the same. Just these 2 places alone have gathered half of the blood python lords' forces, so the other places of the blood python lairs' defenses are naturally empty. Lin Feng was extremely fast. Even though the dark matter was constantly changing space, he could always change his direction at the first moment. It was as if he was moving in a straight line in the shape of a snake. Even though the space was constantly changing, his target didn't change. He was getting closer and closer to the entrance. There wasn't a single blood python lord behind him. Lin Feng was the first to come out, so he grasped the timing perfectly. The other blood python lords were already a beat behind him, and this moment was constantly magnified in the dark matter space. The space was distorted, the distance was increased, and even the position was changed. Even if everyone's target was the entrance, the blood python lords wouldn't be able to catch up to Lin Feng, not to mention the other blood python lords. They were probably at a loss, searching the black forbidden land without knowing what was going on. Whoosh! In just a few days, Lin Feng left the forbidden black land. Although they had encountered blood python beast commanders, they had only encountered the blood python beast commanders that had been roaming around the forbidden black grounds, and not the ones that had been guarding the ancient palace. The entire process was uneventful. Good. Lin Feng revealed a smile, very satisfied. From the appearance of so many blood-devouring beasts in the ancient palace, he knew that it would not be easy to leave the blood-devouring lair. Everything was difficult at the beginning, but at least he had passed the first hurdle. There's still the most dangerous stage. Lin Feng's heart trembled. Since he couldn't find the blood-maned Beast King in the Forbidden Black Land, he was most likely guarding the entrance of the blood-maned Beast King's lair. As long as the blood-maned Beast King wasn't too stupid, this method could be considered the safest, because he could ensure that he would not leave the Blood Swamp's lair. What was the best plan? The blood-maned Beast King only has one entrance. If the blood-maned Beast King is guarding there, I won't be able to leave, but Lin Feng still had a trace of luck in his heart. Perhaps his estimation was wrong, and the blood-maned Beast King wasn't at the entrance. But he knew that the possibility of this was very small. Two methods. Either I lure him away, or I take his attacks head-on and force my way through the entrance. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. The success rate of the second method was infinitely close to 0. The strength of a God Realm expert was already very strong. Not to mention the blood-maned Beast King was a special life form, a battle-type God Realm expert. His strength was probably even more terrifying than a normal God Realm expert. In addition, this was the blood-maned Beast King's lair, his territory. The blood-maned Beast King had all the advantages. If he wanted to force his way through, he would be courting death. So, there was only one method. How should I lure him away? Lin Feng frowned slightly. He couldn't think of a good idea at the moment. First of all, he couldn't risk his life. As long as the blood-maned Beast King was watching him, he wouldn't be able to go anywhere. But if he didn't show up, how could he lure him away? The blood-maned Beast King wasn't a fool. If he wanted him to leave, he would leave obediently. No matter how stupid he was, he knew that guarding the entrance was foolproof. Let's go take a look around the entrance first. Lin Feng pursed his lips. Although he couldn't really get close to the entrance, he should be able to judge from the layout of the cave's defenses and the number of blood-maned beasts. He couldn't miss out on any possibility. If the blood-maned Beast King really wasn't at the entrance of the blood-maned Beast King's lair, or if something important happened that caused him to leave or temporarily leave, wouldn't he be able to leave? But soon, Lin Feng's only hope of luck was shattered. The entire entrance of the cave was impregnable. There wasn't a single blood-maned beast commander. There were hundreds of blood-maned beast lords. Their battle formation was vast and majestic. Every blood-maned beast commander was respectfully prostrating, like a human subject bowing to the emperor. This scene didn't require a sixth sense to be able to judge clearly. At the entrance of the cave, the blood-maned Beast King was waiting for him. Chua! Lin Feng's figure disappeared in a flash. He didn't linger. The closer he got to the entrance, the more dangerous it was. After all, this was the territory of the blood-maned beasts. He didn't know if the blood-maned Beast King had any special methods. If the blood-maned Beast King sensed his presence, then there wouldn't be any hope left. But now at least there was a way. Heaven never bars one's way. I'll definitely find a way out. Lin Feng went deeper into the lair from the entrance. He quickly regained his composure and calmed down. Since the blood-maned Beast King was at the entrance of the cave, it meant that there was no longer any threat in the lair. Kill! Lin Feng's eyes revealed an ominous glint. Since he had already been exposed, he might as well blow things up, directly go deep into the lair, and turn it upside down. Lin Feng was very decisive. In a situation where there was no other way, this was the best way he could do it. First, kill the chicken to warn the monkey. He would directly establish his power and provoke the blood-maned Beast King. Next, he would use it as a way to hone his blade skills and his own strength. The process of killing could also train his blade and increase his battle strength. Finally, it wouldn't be bad to get some blood-maned beast horns. Who knows, I might even get some treasures. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry. While refining the supreme, blood-maned beast horns, he went deeper into the lair and prepared for the worst. He could train and cultivate in the lair. Refining one supreme, blood-maned beast horn after another would allow his strength to increase steadily. When he was confident, he would fight the blood-maned beast king again. However, this method was rather time-consuming. Who knows? Maybe I'll be lucky and find a second way out? Lin Feng smiled optimistically. Chapter 2080. Boom, boom, boom. Within the blood python lair, Lin Feng unleashed a massacre, completely unrestrained. His secret battle with the blood python beast king had gone from the dark to the light. Since he couldn't avoid it, he might as well reveal it completely. If they wanted to capture him, they would have to leave the lair and personally capture him. Otherwise, with just these blood python beast lords, they still weren't qualified. Lin Feng's eyes turned blood red. His comprehension of the Dark Devil Tao was already extremely deep. The first blood python horn he refined contained 100,000 origins of the Dark Devil Tao. The Dark Devil Tao was the most talented of the 6 Taos of darkness, so he started refining the Dark Devil Tao. Moreover, compared to the other 5 great Taos of darkness, the Dark Devil Tao increased his basic strength the most. Entering the Dark Devil state was like burning one's blood essence. His attack, defense, and speed would all increase greatly. As for the side effects, Lin Feng was almost completely immune. Let's see if he's willing to. Lin Feng wasn't sure if the Blood Python Beast King would come in to kill him, but he had to try. Perhaps the Blood Python Beast King cherished his clan and couldn't bear to see the Blood Python Beast die tragically in the lair, so he might enter. But the chances weren't high. I'll just treat it as training my saber arts. Lin Feng was once again immersed in the realm of saber arts. He had stayed in the saber's consummate realm for a long time. Rising from 99% to 100% wasn't an epiphany, but a natural process. Lin Feng knew how much effort he had put into it. His effort wouldn't go to waste. The longer he stayed in the saber's consummate realm, the more he comprehended, and the more likely it was for him to break through and reach the peak of the heavenly Tao of Saber. Peak of the heavenly Tao, the standard combat power level of a deity expert. The higher the level of life, the easier it was to comprehend the realm. For a deity expert, the peak of the heavenly Tao was hard to comprehend, but for a deity expert, it wasn't hard. Basically, the top 10 experts on the Origin Awakener list were all at the peak of the heavenly Tao. And this was the huge gap between a deity expert and a deity expert. I can break through. Lin Feng was very confident. He had an inheritance. To a powerhouse, an inheritance was extremely useful. It was just like a signboard, clearly indicating the direction, which path to take and how to take it. The peak of the heavenly Tao was as such. Lin Feng knew very well that the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade was not an ultimate move at all. Instead, it was a set of guiding saber techniques, a set of saber techniques that assisted in comprehending one's realm. With Ancestor Wang On's strength, it was not to the extent of leaving behind such an unorthodox saber art. Cultivating the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade was to build a foundation. Mastering all 5 moves, reaching the pinnacle of the heavenly Tao of Saber. It was within reach. I just need to practice, and practice more. When you practice to the extreme, a breakthrough will naturally occur. Lin Feng was very calm. However, the blood monkey race was not calm. A huge commotion was stirred up. It was a blatant massacre. One after another, no matter if it was an ordinary blood python, a blood python commander, or a blood python lord, they all died tragically at the hands of that human, Li Feng. The blood python lair was in a state of panic. Although the blood succubi respected the blood succubus beast king very much, they didn't have high intelligence. It was the nature of beasts to be afraid of the strong. The blood succubus beast king, Devon, who was far away at the entrance of the lair, quickly learned of this news. However, he didn't have much of a reaction. He continued to recuperate and bide his time. You want to lure me away? Human, you are not stupid, but don't think that I, Devon, am that stupid. Those ants, kill as many as you want." Devin sneered. The blood monkey race was cold-blooded and had a weak sense of community. Furthermore, with Devin's strength, he wouldn't care about the lives of those ants. If they couldn't even stop a human, it was useless even if it didn't die. You stole the ancestors' supreme blood python horn and still want to leave? Stop dreaming. It was a battle of patience. Lin Feng obviously couldn't compare to the blood succubus Beast King. It wasn't that he was impatient, but that there was a time limit. He only had 3,000 years left. However, the blood succubus Beast King Devin didn't have a time limit. Even if it was 300,000 years or 30 million years, the blood succubus Beast King could wait. 300 years. In another 300 years or so, I will be able to completely refine this supreme blood python horn and comprehend all the 100,000 source connections of the path of Dark Demon, entering the fourth stage of great perfection. Even if I can't condense the law all and break through to the 100,000 source realm, at the very least, my path of Dark Demon will reach the peak limit. My basic abilities will increase in all aspects, and my battle strength will increase by 50%. If my blade art can improve after 300 years, my chances will be even greater. It was very difficult. However, he had to prepare for the worst. For Lin Feng, 300 years was still enough. Since the blood succubus Beast King didn't fall for it, he could only do it step by step. After 300 years, he would refine the supreme blood python horn and increase his battle strength by 50%. If his blade art improved, or if he broke through to the 100,000 source realm, he would have a greater chance. He couldn't defeat the blood succubus Beast King, but he might be able to save his life. He just needed to leave, not kill the blood succubus Beast King. The difficulty was reduced by a lot, but the blood succubus lair is too big. Lin Feng frowned slightly. He estimated that he wouldn't be able to reach the middle section of the blood succubus lair in 300 years. Adding on the fact that he didn't know the way, if he wanted to fight, it would be pretty good if he could make it a third of the way. If he only wanted to train his battle strength, it wouldn't matter. However, if he wanted to enter the deepest part of the blood succubus lair, it would definitely be impossible. And the efficiency of finding a needle in a haystack to train my battle strength like this is too low. Lin Feng nodded slightly and directly rushed back. He clearly had such good resources, so why not use them? Return to the forbidden Black Land. The area where the dark matter space changed was a natural training ground. There were tens of thousands of blood succubus commanders and several hundred blood succubus lords, all of whom were frantically searching for him. Previously, he was afraid of the blood succubus Beast King and didn't want to kill there, but it was different now. It was very obvious that the blood succubus Beast King was very cautious. He didn't even want to take the risk of exposing his position, so he was determined to wait for him at the entrance. Since that was the case, then he might as well be straightforward. Since he would be exposed either way, he might as well spread out. Whoosh! Lin Feng headed straight for the forbidden Black Land. There, he would be able to improve his training to the best. Moreover, this was only a part of it. From the entrance of the blood succubus lair to the deepest part of the royal palace, it would take at least 1,000 years. Lin Feng still had some basic information about the blood succubus lair. But if I sneak in from the forbidden Black Land and go through the blood mud abyss, I can reach the royal palace in at most 100 years. That's more than enough time. Moreover, I can also make a trip to the real sacred palace to see if I missed any treasures. Lin Feng smiled. He was in a pretty good mood. Since the blood succubus Beast King wasn't chasing after him, then he would simply come back and catch him off guard. Chapter 2081. The tables had turned. Lin Feng turned back and returned to the forbidden Black Land. The blood frogs that were searching for Lin Feng in the dark matter space had no idea that their prey had wandered around outside. When he returned, it was clear that he had a purpose in mind. Boom! Boom! The unique dark matter space gave Lin Feng unparalleled freedom. He could fight without fear and not worry about being surrounded by blood frogs. With his current strength, he was not afraid of blood frogs in a one-on-one fight. However, if more than 10 blood frogs attacked together, it would be difficult to resist. If he was surrounded by dozens of blood frogs, it would be disastrous. Fortunately, there was no need to worry. Start from scratch and comprehend the thousand obscurity heavenly blade again. I'll comprehend it again with 100% of the saber's almighty realm and master it. Lin Feng's goal was clear, to break through the saber's almighty realm. Although his life rating was not high enough, Lin Feng still had a precise path to break through to the peak of the saber realm with the guidance of the myriad heavenly saber and the fact that he had been immersed in the saber's all-mastery realm for a long time. He just needed to follow this path and keep going. It was a massacre. Lin Feng was not in a hurry to return to the ancient palace. It was very dangerous to return to the ancient palace and cross the blood-colored mud to reach the sacred palace. The ancient palace in the forbidden Black Land was different from the dark matter space outside. There were no special waves, and the space would not change. It would be troublesome if he was surrounded. He could defeat the blood frogs the first time, but it did not mean he could do a second time. The safest way was to kill until he broke even. In this unique dark matter area, he could eliminate more than 80% of the blood frogs, especially the blood frogs. Then, even if the remaining blood frogs gathered, they would not be a threat to him. To Lin Feng, treasure hunting was secondary. Training was the most important. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As Lin Feng refined the sovereign blood centipede horn, he comprehended the saber technique at the same time. He nurtured himself with battle, cultivating in the midst of battle. The blood forged the black centipede. The peak fourth stage dark demonic patterns gave Lin Feng sufficient support. 1,100 years ago, he was barely able to kill a blood-flea beast overlord in a 1-on-3 battle. Now, even 1 against 5 will be a piece of cake. Boom, boom, boom. The 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade slashed down, and the black python swept through the entire army. In the blink of an eye, 5 blood python beast lords were killed. Blood mist spread everywhere, and the surrounding blood python beast lords were all horrified. Even though there were dozens of them, they didn't dare to approach Lin Feng. Boom! In the next moment, Lin Feng's radiant wings unfurled and Black Viper swept through the area once more, directly killing dozens of bloodsuckers. It's been 100 years, and we've killed 200 bloodsucker lords. Many of the remaining ones are actually in the dark matter space. It's very difficult to find them. Now, the efficiency has decreased a lot. Lin Feng made a decision. He headed towards the ancient palace. Efficiency was linked to time. To him, time was of the essence. The dark matter space was huge and constantly changing. After 100 years of killing, more than half of the blood python beasts had died. However, it would take at least 100 years to increase from 50 to 80%, and another 100 years to increase from 80 to 90%. It was the same for the 300 years of killing. In the beginning, it was easy because there were so many of them. No matter where he went, he would bump into them. However, as the number of blood python beasts decreased, the efficiency would decrease. Lin Feng naturally didn't plan to spend another 300 years here because it was meaningless. Although these blood python beast lords were strong, they couldn't stimulate his warrior heart. It would be difficult for him to take the most important step in the saber's all-conquering realm. Without life-threatening experience, he was still lacking. Enter the ancient palace. Lin Feng didn't want to pass through the ancient palace and enter the blood quagmire. There were more than 40% of the blood python beasts left. This combat strength was enough to threaten his life in the ancient palace. Before entering the blood quagmire, he had to ensure that he was in a safe environment. 15, 18, 20, 23 in total. The moment Lin Feng stepped into the ancient palace, he had already calculated the number of blood python beast lords. As for the blood python beast commanders, there were still hundreds of them. However, they were no threat to him. He wouldn't care even if there were thousands of them, let alone hundreds. 23 of them. I'll kill them all in no time. Lin Feng released his aura and soon lured the blood python beast lords out of the ancient palace. 1 against 23. It seemed difficult, but in fact it was simple. Near the edge of the dark matter space, Lin Feng left after killing 7 of them. He didn't fight the 23 blood python beast lords head-on. Instead, He wandered around outside for 10 days and came back to kill another 7. The cycle repeated itself. Although there were a few more blood python beast lords in the ancient palace, the outcome was already decided. After going back and forth for the 4th time, Lin Feng cleared the entire ancient palace. Once again, all the blood python beasts were killed. More than 60%. Lin Feng still didn't enter the blood quagmire, even though it seemed safe now. The remaining 40% was still a ticking time bomb. Judging from the situation in the past 100 days, both the blood python beast lords and commanders will return here from time to time. Lin Feng smiled and gently stroked his battle saber black dragon. The blood-red battle intent was clear, and the black dragon was roaring. Rather than fumbling around in the dark matter space, it would be more efficient to wait here. Sure enough, it was just as Lin Feng had expected. After occupying the ancient palace, the blood python beasts began to walk into the trap. In less than 10 years, the number of blood python beast lords he killed increased by 33. One wave after another. It was as if Lin Feng was harvesting straw. One by one, the blood devourers died in his hands. The lack of information made the blood python beasts like headless flies. They didn't know where the enemy was. Occasionally, they would return to the ancient palace, but they would die tragically. 50 years later, it's about time. Lin Feng heaved a sigh of relief. Using the Path of Oblivion, he destroyed the corpse of a blood python beast lord and put away his battle saber black dragon. By now, more than 80% of the blood python beast lords had been killed. Even if the remaining 20% were to gather together and ambush him, he was confident that he could escape and save his life. Then, there was no need to waste any more time. Whoosh! Lin Feng once again entered the blood quagmire. Without the support of the dark light ball, the blood quagmire turned from a thick wall to a thin membrane. It would break at the slightest touch, and as time passed, the energy of the blood quagmire would decrease. It took him 20 years to return. Now, I can reach the underground in 10 years at most, and the return time will be even faster. Lin Feng smiled. The last time he entered the sacred land, he left in a hurry and only took 6 blood python horns. This time, he finally had time to slowly search for treasures. Chapter 2082. Passing through the bloody mud, Lin Feng returned to the underground sacred land. He was familiar with the place. As he passed through this wonderful space once more, he didn't feel nervous at this moment because Lin Feng was very clearly aware that the strongest existence in the entire bloodworm lair, the bloodworm beast king, was waiting for him at the entrance of the cave. No matter how he looked at it, he wouldn't come down. Moreover, he didn't know that he would be so daring as to return to the sacred land. The blood python beasts always lacked intelligence. I'm back. Lin Feng stood in front of the sacred palace, his eyes shining as he looked at the 6 blood python beast king that had died countless years ago. They were just sealed by a dark power, so they still had some charm. But now that they had lost the sovereign blood python horn on their foreheads, they were like dragons without eyes. Their aura and charm were less than 10%. No matter how strong an existence is, when their time is up, they can only fall. On a wandering planet, I'll always be limited by the supreme laws. I can't even break through to the master of the black domain. Lin Feng sighed. Wandering planets had the most abundant spatial energy, suppressing other types of energy. Plus, they were limited by the laws of a wandering planet, so they couldn't surpass the Black Domain Master. Of course, they couldn't surpass the Black Domain Master in the Milky Way. Just like an island, it could at most bear a weight of 100 million tons. If it bore a weight of 1 billion tons, the island would definitely collapse. But it was different in the real universe. Not only could it bear a weight of 1 billion tons, it could even bear 10 billion tons or 100 billion tons. Sure enough, there isn't one. Standing in front of the sacred palace for a moment, Lin Feng's aura had already swept through the entire sacred palace. It was better to be careful. Not only was the blood python beast king not here, but there wasn't even a blood python horde lord. The entire palace was empty, like a treasury with its door wide open, waiting for him to take it. Swish! Lin Feng's figure flashed, and he quickly arrived at the treasury. It was too easy to find. The sacred palace had almost no hiding spots, not even defensive measures. This was normal because there was no need for any defenses. Outstanding, true treasure. Lin Feng casually picked one up and inspected it before putting it away. Then he picked up a huge golden scale that contained an astonishing amount of energy. What a powerful energy aura. What kind of special life form does this scale belong to? Ugh, a strange cube. This is a seed? Egg. Lin Feng collected the treasures one by one. Many of them were unheard of. After all, this was the Blood-Maned Beast King's lair. The treasures collected by the Blood-Maned Beast King were at least superior, true treasures. Most of them were specialties of the turbulent void. It was normal that he had never seen them before. Although he didn't recognize them, there was no harm in collecting them all. At the very least, he could go out and exchange for it. It would be a waste not to take it. This is... Suddenly, Lin Feng picked up a storage ring and probed it with his consciousness. The weak protection was broken directly. Lin Feng scanned the treasures in the storage ring. His eyes widened slightly as he laughed involuntarily. The storage ring of the Destiny race. This armor is... Lin Feng immediately took out a familiar armor from the pile of treasures. It was the armor of the Destiny race expert, Wu Jiqian, whom he had met face to face that day. As for the treasures and secret manuals in the storage ring in his hand, they all belonged to the Destiny race. He could almost conclude that it was Wu Jiqian. Wu Jiqian is too unlucky. He died here. Lin Feng laughed involuntarily. He still wanted to compete with him outside, but he didn't expect that he had already fallen. Seems like he was killed by the Blood-Maned Beast King. It wasn't hard to tell. With Wu Jiqian's strength, even he wasn't sure he could beat him. The Destiny race's life-saving ability had always been tyrannical. The Blood-Maned Beast King alone couldn't kill Wu Jiqian, who was ranked 13th on the Origin Awakening list. The only possibility for his death was the Blood-Maned Beast King. Powerful. Lin Feng sighed. Wu Jiqian, who was similar in strength to him, was killed by the Blood-Maned Beast King just like that. His battle strength wasn't necessarily stronger than Wu Jiqian's. If he met the Blood-Maned Beast King, he wouldn't have a good time. There's still time. Lin Feng waited for the supreme blood-maned horn to be completely refined. 300 years would allow his strength to increase by another step. As for the bargaining chip, every bit counted. Speaking of which, the Blood-Maned Beast King killed Wu Jiqian. Isn't he afraid of the soul attack from his death? Lin Feng's eyes brightened as he thought. If that was true, then the Blood-Maned Beast King was too terrifying. His body was strong, his battle strength was tyrannical, and he didn't fear soul attacks. Let's take it one step at a time. Lin Feng couldn't think of a solution for now. He sighed, then put away all the treasures and left. Although he could guess the Blood-Maned Beast King's strength, seeing Wu Jiqian's death with his own eyes still made his heart tremble. Fortunately, Lin Feng's will was strong, and he recovered not long after leaving the sacred palace. Wu Jiqian was Wu Jiqian. He was him. 140 years. Lin Feng's eyes were bright, and his fighting spirit was high. After leaving the sacred palace, Lin Feng began to look for the path to the imperial palace. The entire Blood-Maned lair was like a huge fan. Although the top part was boundless, and one might not be able to walk through it in 1,000 years, the bottom part wasn't that big, and one could go anywhere from one point. The Forbidden Black Land, the Forbidden Wild Land, Lin Feng had already found them. From these two areas, it wasn't hard to deduce the location of the third forbidden area. After spending only 10 years, Lin Feng successfully found the Imperial Palace, which was the passage Wu Jiqian used to enter. Since the passage existed, it was easy. Although there were some Blood-Maned Beast Kings guarding the Imperial Palace, their numbers were much fewer than the Forbidden Black Land. Lin Feng swept through them without much effort, taking the entire Imperial Palace for himself. There are more treasures here than in the Sacred Palace. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. In terms of value, they might not be comparable to the strange treasures in the Sacred Palace. But in terms of quantity, the treasures in the Imperial Palace were obviously better for him to improve his strength. For example, the fruits of heaven and earth. These are all fruits of heaven and earth from the chaotic void. Other than a few from the forbidden lands, I haven't eaten any of them. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and he was extremely happy. After increasing his life level, his body's constitution still hadn't reached its peak, and there was still a lot of room for improvement. These fruits of heaven and earth could help him fill that gap. The foundation was very important. When one's foundation was strong enough, it could affect one's battle strength. After refining the supreme blood-maned horn of the Tao of Dark Demon, my cultivation of the Tao of Dark Demon can strengthen all my foundations. Now, they complement each other. Lin Feng smiled with satisfaction. Even if his saber art didn't have a breakthrough, with these fruits of heaven and earth and the supreme blood-maned horn, after 100 years, his battle strength would increase by quite a bit. At that time, my chances will be greater. Lin Feng clenched his fists, his eyes filled with battle intent and anticipation. Chapter 2083. After sweeping away all the treasures in the palace, Lin Feng returned to the underground palace. The most dangerous place was the safest place. Moreover, the underground palace had the most comfortable cultivation environment. It was the most suitable place to cultivate the Tao of Darkness. Moreover, in terms of danger, where was the safest place in the blood marmoset's lair? At the very least, there would be no other blood marmosets in the palace. That was because the blood marmoset beast king was intimidating. What's missing from the 10,000 heavenly blade? In the palace, Lin Feng absorbed the fruits of heaven and earth, refined the blood marmoset supreme horn, and honed his saber skills. I can't be more familiar with all 5 moves. However, the entire 10,000 heavenly blade still seems to contain a lot of power. It's hard to truly unleash all of it. What is it? Lin Feng couldn't figure it out. In fact, he wasn't the only one who was stuck at this level. However, unlike other experts, Lin Feng had the 10,000 heavenly blade, which was a complete set of guiding saber skills. There were traces of cultivation. However, it was still difficult to break through the shackles. Practice again. Lin Feng didn't have any other way. As the saying goes, reading a book 100 times will reveal its meaning. It was the same for practicing the saber. In a situation where there was no other way, he could only practice the saber over and over again. He could copy the saber skills, figure out the concept, and comprehend the peak of the saber. Time passed year after year. 80%. Lin Feng clenched his fists, his eyes shining. There were a lot of fruits of heaven and earth in the palace. Even with his current physical strength, it took him nearly 100 years to absorb all of them. His body was now 80% full. Now, my physical strength is comparable to a deity expert. Even a blood marmoset beast king is probably only a little stronger than me. Lin Feng was very satisfied. His foundation was strong. Every time his life level increased, his physical strength would leap to the extreme. Coupled with the bloodline, his physical strength was definitely top-notch. It had become a huge advantage. Soon, I can refine the first blood marmoset supreme horn. Lin Feng was looking forward to it. In the dark demon state, the strength of his body would increase by quite a bit. At that time, his body would be comparable to the blood-maned beast king. Perhaps his life level is higher, and his innate talents are stronger. But as long as his body isn't in a disadvantageous position, the blood-maned beast king's biggest advantage will be erased. Then, he will have a greater chance to save his life. Lin Feng had never thought of defeating blood-maned beast king. This was somewhat unrealistic. The blood-maned beast king could easily kill Wu Jitian. Even if he could completely refine the supreme blood man-eater horn, he wouldn't be able to do it. At most, he would be able to kill it. Easily killing and killing were 2 different things. The difference in strength between a deity realm expert and a deity realm expert was like heaven and earth. Moreover, blood-maned beast king wasn't an ordinary god spirit realm expert. As he was a special life form, his innate endowment was much stronger. As he had entered the god spirit realm, he was one of the best. Time passed quickly. To a martial artist, 100 years was just the snap of a finger. The refinement of the sovereign blood, devouring horn, was also nearing its end. All the connections of 100,000 Genesis points had been poured into his mind. Although it was like swallowing dates in one gulp, the comprehension imprinted in his genes was still real. He was able to understand every single connection. He could also clearly feel the resonance between every source point. Originally, he had already completely analyzed the 100,000 source points. It was like grasping all the characters in a language. Connecting them was like combining these characters one by one to form a complete language. The memory imprinted in his mind was deep and direct. This was the value of the supreme blood man-eater horn. Let alone the fact that Lin Feng had already reached the third stage of great perfection. Even if he was only at the first stage of great perfection, refining the supreme blood man-eater horn would allow him to directly reach the fourth stage of great perfection. Of course, no pain, no gain. This kind of comprehension was like rote memorization. It lacked an important point. Relying on it to condense the law all and reach the 100,000 origin realm experts was harder than ascending to the heavens. It was nowhere near as solid as what he was doing right now. All the comprehension was stored in his mind. The supreme blood man-eater horn had already lost all its color and luster. It was like a piece of dead wood without any presence of energy. The dense inscriptions on it had all dimmed, and its energy had vanished. Lin Feng closed his eyes and remained motionless. This was the most important thing for him right now. If he could comprehend it, he would directly rise to a whole new level. If he could not comprehend it, it would be even more difficult to condense the law all and reach the 100,000 origin realm. There was not much hope. Even though Lin Feng's talent was extraordinary and he had the legacy in hand, it was different from reaching the 100,000 origin realm in the legacy. The method of memorizing the myriad heaven path was like 100 rivers flowing into the sea. He had to comprehend every single detail before finally mastering it. Right now, it was like he had taken a shortcut, saving a huge step. It was exactly because he had saved this step that he had forcefully memorized all the connections of the 100,000 source points. Although he had reached the level of comprehension, he had not caught up. He could only rely on luck to condense the law all, one step at a time. Lin Feng had never thought about condensing the law all and directly reaching the 100,000 origin realm. Since he had chosen to take the shortcut, he was obviously mentally prepared. The most important thing right now was to master it. He had to refine all the mysteries within the sovereign blood owl horn for his own use, and go from the third to the fourth, which was also the final stage. The limit of great perfection. Blood-red specks of light covered Lin Feng's body, as if the 100,000 source points had reappeared. Every single one of the 100,000 source points was tightly connected to each other, as if they were a part of his body. Pa! Pa! His bones were changing, and his cells were in a state of excitement. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly opened, revealing a sliver of loftiness. Astonishing demonic power erupted with a bang. His comprehension of the Tao had reached a whole new level, and his body had undergone a whole new change. If it was the way of the divine of light, this attack would naturally counter the darkness. If it was the way of heavy darkness, this attack would possess the power of 1,000 caddies, containing extreme gravity. This was the comprehension of the Tao, the limit of great perfection. The limit of great perfection in the way of the dark demon directly gave the cultivator an even stronger dark demon realm, a state of slaughter. It was like going berserk. In this realm, one's blood would burn wildly, and their attack, defense, and speed would all increase drastically, raising their battle prowess from the very foundation. What great power! Although Lin Feng was in the extreme dark devil realm, his thoughts were extremely clear, completely unaffected by any interference. My condition is excellent. Lin Feng was faintly, pleasantly surprised. In this state, not only would he be able to fight, but he would also be very excited to comprehend and cultivate. For him, who had cultivated in this state for a long time, it was as if his blood was burning and his thoughts were surging. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration. The law? This is the law. Why didn't I think of it? The moment he entered the dark demon realm, Lin Feng had a new comprehension. Chapter 2084. What is a law? It is a kind of form, a kind of conception, a kind of vague comprehension. Like a blade, it can be long or short, thin or long, sharp or blunt. Lin Feng was enlightened. His blood-red eyes flashed. His gaze focused on the supreme being blood-mane horn that had lost its color. His right hand flashed, and another supreme being blood-mane horn appeared, flashing with a golden light. This supreme being blood-mane horn possessed a powerful life force. The complex engravings on it were connected layer by layer, and the 100,000 Genesis points were clearly arranged, forming a perfect whole. This was the law. The supreme being blood-mane horn is a form of the law. It is the innate ability of the blood-mane beasts, the law of darkness, a natural evolution of the 100,000 Genesis points. Lin Feng's thoughts were completely clear. Since he had refined the supreme being blood-mane horn, then the simplest and most direct way to form the law all was to follow the pattern and use the law of darkness to form a supreme being blood-mane horn with the 100,000 Genesis points. When I succeed, I will break through to the great circle realm. The day I obtain 100,000 Genesis points. The memories in his mind were incomparably clear. When he had just refined the supreme being blood-mane horn, Lin Feng remembered every detail of the engravings. It was like the path he had walked. Every step was extremely firm. Everything was difficult at the beginning. Forming the law, all was also the same. In the first few years, Lin Feng was still unable to make sense of it. Only after he had eliminated the Great Circle realm and calmed down did he gradually form a rough shape like building blocks. After entering the state, it became much simpler. So it's like this. Yes, this is the connection of 100,000 Genesis points. I understand. Every stroke brought about a new understanding. The steps that he had originally skipped slowly appeared as he drew them, turning them into the most direct comprehension. Lin Feng enjoyed this state very much. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, the all of law in his mind gradually took shape like a pyramid. The formation of the all of law gave Lin Feng the most direct epiphany, allowing him to comprehend every form of the great perfection stage. In the inheritance, it was 100 rivers returning to the sea. As for refining the sovereign blood owl horn, it was a one-sided process. There was more than one path to the great Tao. But no matter which path he took, the final destination was the same. After comprehending the great perfection, one would step into 100,000 origins. A true divine spirit realm expert. Hush! Lin Feng's entire body began to emit rays of blood-red light. The law-alls formed within his body were perfect and flawless, containing the ultimate power of the Dark Devil Tao. His 100,000 essences were linked together, containing the profound mysteries of the heavenly Taos. At the great perfection stage, the Dark Devil Tao was only a single point. At the 100,000 essences level, one would have formed an all of laws. Just the power of the way of the Dark Demon had increased by more than 10 times, not to mention the changes that came with it. The Tao of the Dark Devil at the perfected level was like a lake. The 100,000 source level path of the Dark Demon was in a vast ocean. The area was larger, and the area was wider. The power of the Dark Devil Tao was only a fundamental difference. An even greater difference came from secret techniques, from a use of the Dark Devil Tao, which increased the fundamental difference by hundreds or thousands of times. 100,000 origins could be combined at will. The law all had endless transformations, and it could create an endless number of secret techniques. Ordinary ones were comparable to the best secret techniques at the perfected level, and their power was equivalent to an entire lake. A slightly stronger secret art could have an area of 10 or 100 lakes. Slightly stronger ones could have the power of 1,000 or 10,000 lakes. The ultimate ones could even have the power of an entire ocean. Stepping into the 100,000 essences level could be said to be stepping into a whole new level of the Tao of Laws. It was the end, but at the same time, it was also a starting point. Boom! Lin Feng's power erupted, and his eyes flashed. With the law all activated, His attacks in the Dark Devil state were like explosive strikes. Their power greatly increased, and the entire sacred palace shook. Finally, I'm close to the strength of a deity. Here, with the geographical advantage, the power of my Dark Demon Dao and Hei Tung has been greatly enhanced. My battle prowess is comparable to that of a god. Lin Feng felt the brand new power, and his blood-red eyes flashed with a cold fighting spirit. He finally had the ability to fight against the Blood Marmoset Beast King. Although he was still unable to defeat him, it was enough to fight. I don't need to defeat him. I only need to be able to withstand one of his attacks and survive. As long as he left the Blood Marmoset's lair, where could he not go in the vast Blood Marmoset land? In terms of spatial comprehension, in terms of escaping, as long as he left the cave, he had countless methods to shake off the Blood Marmoset Beast King. It's time to meet him. Lin Feng sighed and stood up. Although the Thousand Heaven Path contained many Dark Devil Dao secret techniques, and all of them were extremely tyrannical secret techniques in the universe. But because they were too tyrannical, it was extremely difficult to comprehend them. He did not have the time to spend hundreds or even thousands of years to comprehend a secret technique. Time was tight. It had been more than 300 years. It was time to leave. Blood Marmoset's lair, Black Forbidden Land. A bunch of idiots. Forcing me here, haha. Awesome. Killing frenzy. A demon race expert with a skeleton body was crazily slaughtering. In this constantly changing dark matter space, he was like a fish in water, killing countless Blood Marmoset commanders and even many Blood Marmoset lords. The second in command of Extreme Fatal, Master Chu. Previously, when the Blood Marmoset's lair was in chaos, he was forced to retreat to the lair's entrance. Who would have thought that his luck would be so bad that he would be chased by 3 Blood Marmoset lords and suffer a great defeat? With no way out, Master Chu had no choice but to step into the Forbidden Land recorded in the records, Black Forbidden Land. Unexpectedly, this Forbidden Land recorded in the records was like a fish in water to him. The records are not always accurate. Warriors who cultivate the Tao of Darkness, especially those who are proficient in the Tao of Dark Matter, can easily control the Black Forbidden Land. Although the Blood Marmoset will be stronger here, I've also become stronger. Master Chu was crazily slaughtering, and he enjoyed it very much. Here, he could take advantage of the geographical advantage. Not only did he not have to worry about being surrounded, but he could also kill many Blood Marmoset lords and obtain countless Blood Marmoset horns. It was a blessing in disguise. Oh, suddenly, Master Chu's eyes lit up. What's that? The center of the Black Forbidden Land? As if he had discovered a new continent, Master Chu's breathing became extremely rapid. He was careful, but he could not hide his excitement. A great opportunity. Awesome. The Blood Marmoset's lair riot actually helped me. Haha, I'm rich this time. As soon as he stepped into the ancient palace area, Master Chu's eyes lit up, and his body trembled with excitement. He had hit the jackpot. Chapter 2085. Hiss, hiss. Master Chu's hands formed into claws, and his eagle-like eyes shot out blood-red rays of light. The dark aura spread and tore apart a few blood python beast commanders' corpses. A few blood succubus commanders were no match for him. Looks like it's very safe. There's not even a blood python beast lord. It's indeed a treasure land. Master Chu grinned, revealing his sinister teeth. Blood splattered everywhere, as though he was the master of the dark forbidden land. He could summon clouds and rain with a flip of his hand. Soon, he swept through the area. The treasure must be inside. Master Chu walked slowly towards the ancient palace, his eyes filled with excitement. There was only one passage in such a huge area, so it was easy to find. In the spacious passage, there was not a single blood python beast. Master Chu frowned slightly, and a sense of uneasiness crept into his heart. He slowed down and became more cautious. One step, one step. It was as though he had stepped into an unknown abyss of hell. Suddenly, who is it? Master Chu was shocked, his heart pounding. In front, there seemed to be a black figure blocking his path. His huge wings seemed to have covered the entire passage, but there was no aura, and he could not sense his presence at all. As he got closer, the face gradually became clearer, and even his aura could be vaguely felt. 9-star expert. Human youth. Dark aura. Never seen before. You. Master Chu's eyes widened, and all the information combined to form a blurry figure, but he was extremely certain. You are the demonic Blade King. The demonic Blade King who killed my second brother. Magic flute. Master Chu's eyes were bloodshot, and he was almost roaring. Master Chu. Lin Feng looked at Master Chu, and he had already recognized him. Even when Master Chu entered the ancient palace area, he had already sensed his aura and presence. So, he purposely waited for him here. Ha! Ha ha! Master Chu laughed instead of getting angry. His unbridled laughter showed how carefree he was in his heart. I've been looking for you for thousands of years. I thought you had already died in the blood centipede's lair. I didn't expect you to still be alive. I was lucky, Lin Feng said. Really? Master Chu laughed coldly, and a huge amount of dark aura mixed with the aura of the dark demon instantly filled the entire passageway. But your luck has run out after meeting me. Is that so? Lin Feng said. Master Chu squinted his eyes, not concealing his murderous aura. When you killed Magic Flute, you should have thought that doing so would incite a fatal rage, or did you think that we would not find out? You're too naive, little guy. Lin Feng smiled faintly. I'm really lucky today. Not only did I find the treasure trove of the blood-devouring beasts, I even found you, you idiot. Master Chu looked at Lin Feng with disdain, his gaze cold. If you want to hide, I can't do anything to you. But since I've met you, blame yourself for being too stupid and arrogant. The treasure of the blood-devouring beasts is not something an idiot like you can obtain. Go and die. Master Chu did not put Lin Feng in his eyes at all. His majestic aura enveloped the entire place, as though he was an emperor. But in an instant, the atmosphere in the passageway changed. A terrifying dark demon aura descended, directly suppressing Master Chu's dark demon aura. It was like a huge mountain pressing down on a small mountain. It was a completely destructive suppression. In the air, the blood-colored dark demon aura formed a huge blood centipede horn. It was ferocious. Under the cover of this huge blood centipede horn, Master Chu seemed to become incomparably small, as though he was in an endless blood-colored hell. The terrifying binding pressure firmly bound him, and even moving an inch was a luxury. This. Master Chu's expression changed. He was a little stunned. Impossible. We are both at the absolute perfection realm, so why is my dark demon Tao? Master Chu was shocked. Instantly, his eyes were filled with endless shock. His lips were slightly pale. Could it be? Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Even among the top 10 experts of the Origin Awakening list, only 2 have surpassed the absolute perfection realm. He is just a human brat that has just left the mountain. Absolutely impossible. Master Chu roared in fury. Boom! The wild air directly dispersed the binding pressure around his body. After all, he was a super expert ranked 18th on the Origin Awakening list, and he had the advantage of being in a favorable location. Master Chu's strength was not to be trifled with. Here, he could display the battle strength of a peak divine realm expert. Pretending to be mysterious, go and die. Master Chu's skeletal face twisted savagely, his figure like a ghost. In a flash, he went straight for Lin Feng, but the figure in front of him suddenly disappeared. The next instant, rumble! An illusory giant horn smashed over. This was the condensed energy of extreme darkness. The explosive power was far greater than Master Chu's dark demon Tao. Just this collision was enough to make Master Chu vomit blood and retreat. His expression changed greatly. Too terrifying. His wrist was completely numb. Master Chu was dumbfounded, unable to believe it. You came too late. Lin Feng's voice sounded, reverberating through the tunnel. The black wings of warmth tore through space. Strands of spatial chi tore at Lin Feng's body. The black skeleton in his hand began to hum. Z. ZZ. His eyes gradually turned blood red. The law all in his body became even more perfect. Mysterious inscriptions lit up, forming a perfect whole. When the dark demon Tao collided, Master Chu's was destroyed almost instantly. Impossible. It can't be 100,000 Origin Realm experts. Master Chu's eyes were filled with fear. However, the truth was right in front of him. The same dark demon Tao had a completely different power. After being amplified by the terrain, the difference was multiplied by several times. It was a complete crushing. Whoosh! Master Chu activated his strongest defense. His entire body was covered in black light, forming an egg-shaped barrier. His body dodged continuously. But at this moment, a huge black dragon swooped down from the void. It opened its bloody mouth and terrifying blade, intent, seemed to slice him into pieces. He was completely unable to resist. It was an extremely powerful blade. Chi! The light and the color of blood blossomed almost instantly. The black round shield around Master Yin's body was instantly torn to pieces. The sturdy, excellent, true treasure armor forcefully withstood the blow, but the powerful impact had already injured Master Yin quite badly. Too terrifying. At this moment, Master Chu's mind was filled with shock and fear. He never thought that the demonic Blade King's strength would be so terrifying. It was much stronger than he had expected. He had already done his best, but in front of the demonic Blade King, he was completely powerless. They were not on the same level at all. Run. This was Master Chu's most direct reaction. However, it was already impossible for him to escape. A ray of light flashed across the sky like a bolt of lightning. It was so fast and violent that it seemed as if the sky was crying. Chi! Master Chu was directly cleaved in two. Blood splattered everywhere. Myriad obscuring heavenly blade, tears of chaos. Chapter 2086. Master Chu had indeed come late. If he had come earlier, Lin Feng, who had killed Magic Flute, was far from being his opponent. If he had come earlier, he could have left and would not have bumped into Lin Feng in the ancient palace. If he had come earlier, many things would have been different. Unfortunately, he had come at the right time. God, he was destined to die. I bumped into the spearhead myself. Lin Feng was very calm. His strength had indeed increased by a lot, but it was not to the point where he could completely suppress Master Chu. After all, he was a super expert ranked 18th on the Origin Awakening list. The geographical advantage and cultivation level completely suppressed him. Inside the Forbidden Black Land, with the help of the geographical advantage, it was true that Lord Yin could raise his strength from a high-level High God Realm expert to a peak High God Realm expert, but Lin Feng could raise his strength to a High God Realm expert. The difference in strength was very different. The cultivation level was the most direct suppression. Both were of the Dark Demon Tao. There was no fuss. It was a narrow path where the brave would win. If Lin Feng was only at the fourth stage of absolute perfection, the difference between them would not be obvious. But now that Lin Feng had reached the 100,000 Origin Realm, just the level of law all was enough to completely suppress Master Chu. There are quite a few treasures. Lin Feng looked through Master Chu's storage ring. Although he was not as rich as Wu Jitian, there were quite a few miscellaneous treasures. Adding on the two outstanding treasures, the total value was about half of Wu Jitian's wealth. Robbing is indeed the fastest way to get rich. Lin Feng smiled. Although that was the case, normal people would not do that. Offending a large faction was no joke. Just like how he had killed Magic Flute and Master Chu, it would be strange if Poison Rose did not go after him. That was a transcendent existence ranked fourth on the Origin Awakening list. With his current strength, even in the Forbidden Black Land, he was not Poison Rose's opponent, let alone outside. The difference in strength was like the difference between him and Master Chu. The difference was like heaven and earth. Killing one is an offense. Killing two is the same. Lin Feng didn't care. What was there to be afraid of? He had already offended both the Destiny race and the blood succubus beasts. One more extreme fatality was nothing to him. Could it be that if someone came to kill you, you would be so cowardly as to let the tiger return to the mountain? Kill him first. Whatever happened after that, they could talk about it later. As expected of the second-in-command of Fatal Limit, he really has a lot of treasures. This is? Lin Feng's heart flickered. He quickly took out a strange white stone. The spiral patterns on the stone looked like a snail shell. The shell contained a lot of space energy, and strange patterns were engraved on it. Déjà vu. He had never seen it before, but he had heard Yin Faoyang mention it before. Right. Danger teleportation command. This is the teleportation token to the void impasse. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he suddenly remembered. He had interacted with Yin Faoyang and Bai Kuang many times in the doomed impasse, so he knew a lot about the turbulent void. This included the danger teleportation command. The danger teleportation command only existed in the current void impasse. Like a one-time teleportation array, using the danger teleportation command could directly enter the void impasse. Its main purpose was to make it easier for experts to enter again. Moreover, the danger teleportation command could only be used in the current reincarnation. This pattern, if I'm not wrong, should be the danger teleportation command to the heavenly meteorite void impasse. Lin Feng stared at the danger teleportation command that looked like a snail shell. Master Chu, what a timely reign. Lin Feng smiled. Thinking about it, Master Chu must have obtained the danger teleportation command in the heavenly meteorite void impasse. Perhaps because he wanted to kill Huang Xiaolong, he temporarily left the heavenly meteorite void impasse. Let's give it a try. Lin Feng tried to activate the danger teleportation command. In an instant, a white light flashed, and a strong spatial fluctuation appeared. But in an instant, it distorted and turned into nothingness. It won't work. Lin Feng shook his head. The principle of the danger teleportation command is to use spatial positioning to establish a stable spatial channel. The spatial laws here are suppressed by the law of darkness and cannot be stabilized. The moment the channel was established, it collapsed. Let's go out and try. Lin Feng immediately left the ancient palace. Stepping out of the forbidden black land, the dark energy decreased sharply. However, Lin Feng tried to activate the danger teleportation command again, but it still failed. There was an invisible force in the blood python layer that affected the space, making it difficult to establish a stable spatial channel in the entire area. Moreover, it was dangerous to do so. If the spatial channel was attacked, or even destroyed during the teleportation process, he would be trapped in the spatial turbulence. If it was light, he would lose his way, and if it was heavy, he would be swallowed by the spatial turbulence. The safest way is to leave the blood python lair. After trying it twice, Lin Feng had already figured it out. It was not difficult to activate the danger teleportation command. He only needed to find a quiet and peaceful environment, activate it, and then establish a stable spatial channel to teleport. The blood python lair could not be used, because there was a mysterious and powerful force interfering. It was most likely the blood python lair's protection. However, leaving the blood python lair should not be a problem in other areas of the blood python lair. It saved me a lot of time. Lin Feng was very satisfied. To other experts, this danger teleportation command might not even be as valuable as an elite true treasure. However, to him, it was more valuable than an excellent true treasure. After all, even if he left the blood python lair, he would still be in a daze if he had to find a way to other danger lands, not to mention the meteorite turbulence lands. This danger teleportation medallion just so happened to solve his urgent problem. As long as I can escape the blood python beast king's pursuit, even if it's only for a short while, I can leave, Lin Feng thought to himself. Once he entered the meteorite turbulence lands, he would not have to worry about the blood python beast king's revenge. Phew, Lin Feng exhaled softly. No matter what, he still had to face what he had to face. The battle at the entrance of the blood python lair was unavoidable. He would have to risk his life and fight to the death. All right, now that my strength has improved greatly, I can test it on the blood python beast king. I can't win against him, but if he wants to kill me, it won't be easy. Lin Feng really wanted to know how far away he was from the top 10 of the Origin Awakening list, the God Realm experts. He was about to enter the meteorite turbulence lands. At that time, he would encounter more God Realm experts. It would be good for him to assess himself first. Whoosh! Without any distractions, Lin Feng went straight to the entrance of the blood python lair. His body had been strengthened to 80%, and he had refined the supreme blood python horn. His Tao of dark demon had reached the origin realm, and he had condensed the law all. The black python, a top-grade, excellent true treasure, was comparable to a pinnacle true treasure under the enhancement of the environment. In the face of the upcoming fierce battle, Lin Feng had already made all the preparations. This will be the most difficult battle since I entered the turbulent space. Lin Feng's eyes were bright, and his fighting spirit was rising. Victory is not an option. Chapter 2087. At the entrance of the blood-sucking lair, hundreds of blood-sucking beast lords knelt respectfully and listened to the orders of their king, Devon. The golden horn pointed to the sky, and the engravings were complicated. Devon, the blood-sucking beast king, was closing his eyes to recover. The death soul shock of the destined race was no joke. Even if it was a special life form, it was still heavily injured. Tyvan vaguely knew about the actions of the slayer Li Feng in the blood-maned lair. After all, this was his home. However, he knew that humans were cunning and not easy to deal with. He was afraid that he would fall into the trap of luring the tiger away from the mountain. He would deal with all changes by sticking to the status quo. He wasn't as smart as his brother, Devon, but he was very reliable. Even if all the blood-sucking beasts died, as long as the lair was still there, it would take tens of thousands of eras for them to reproduce and return to their peak. However, he couldn't lose the blood-sucking horn of his ancestor. It wasn't just the pride and dignity of the blood-sucking beasts, it was also a priceless treasure. When the blood-sucking beast lords reached a bottleneck, they would enter the sacred palace to comprehend the blood-sucking horn. Even if they didn't cultivate the same Tao of darkness, it would still be of great help. The birth of the first blood-sucking beast king was extremely difficult. However, the second and the third could be found. In their era, there were even two blood-sucking beast king. This was all because of the blood-sucking horn. No matter how much trouble you make, there's only one way to leave. I like to see what else you can do. Devon was very patient. He didn't care even if he had to wait 100 or 1,000 eras, let alone 100 or 1,000 years. Come out and you'll die. Gee! A beam of light flew in the blood-sucking lair. The huge pitch-black wings seemed to shatter space. The endless darkness was like a gentle breeze, making it easier to fly. Not only did it not have the slightest bit of resistance, it even turned into pure energy, riding the wind and breaking the waves. Lin Feng rushed to the entrance of the blood-sucking lair. His battle intent had reached its peak. Within his body, the law, all of the dark demonic Tao, flickered with golden light, just like the blood centipede horn of the sovereign. Dense runes condensed into one, forming a perfect whole. 100,000 sources were linked together. Every move he made was a dark magic law. If he was at the Great Perfection realm, he would still need to convert the dark energy into the dark devil Tao. Whether it was attacking or using the laws, it was the same. However, things are different now. His attacks were faster, more extreme, and more powerful. Bang! Even Hei Tong was glowing with a bloody light as if he was possessed by a devil. In his dark devil form, Hei Tong was even more ferocious. He was like a devil, but a weapon was still a weapon. The one in control was still Lin Feng. Lin Feng was a devil, so naturally, his weapon was also a devil. If Lin Feng didn't go crazy, the weapon madness would only increase its power. Blood-maned Beast King. Lin Feng's eyes were dyed with a bloody light. He had already sensed the enormous aura in front of him. With hundreds of blood python beast lords gathered together, there was no way out if he tried to force his way through. However, he had no other choice. There was no shortcut. There was only one way. Attack. With the blade in his hand, with his strength, he had to open a bloody path. As long as he could leave the blood python lair and escape the pursuit of the blood-maned beast king, he could use the danger zone teleportation token to leave this place and go to the meteorite turbulence danger zone. Great Brahma. Lin Feng directly used his domain. When he was outnumbered, the domain's effect would be maximized. A five-colored brilliance shrouded the area. Halos appeared in the Brahma world. The moment they restrained the blood python beast lords, a clear route was formed in Lin Feng's mind. He shuttled through the encirclement of the blood python beast lords. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The wings of warmth caused the space to tremble and distort. Lin Feng sped toward the cave entrance. The blood python beast lords roared angrily. Their attacks exploded in an instant. There were almost no blind spots. They covered the entire domain. Boom, rumble. Great Brahma shattered in an instant. Facing the impact of absolute power, even the domain of a deity expert couldn't withstand it. Lin Feng didn't think of blocking it. Great Brahma was enough for now. At this moment, Lin Feng had already entered the middle section. However, the real danger had just begun. It was like entering the enemy's territory and facing the furious attacks of all the enemies. This time, he didn't have the natural shield of the blood python beast lords. He could only rely on his strength. Mandarin Duck's tie. Lin Feng attacked with his blade. Among the 5 moves of the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade, the strongest defensive move was like a pair of Mandarin ducks dancing. The speed was very slow, but it was like a water mirror with ripples. The blade moves were continuous, borrowing force from force without any blind spots. Relying on the inertia and the impact of the attacks, Lin Feng rushed toward the cave entrance. Pung, pung, pung. Although the defense of the blade moves was strong, the attacks of the blood python beast lords were too many. Even if they were diverted and weakened, their power still couldn't be underestimated. Even a deity expert would be injured if he took it head-on. Lin Feng was no exception. However, with the double protection of the Mo Shui boat and the warm wings, as well as his strong body and recovery ability, Lin Feng endured this wave of attacks. In a short time, he moved from the middle section to the back of the middle section. He could almost see the entrance of the blood python lair. Roar, roar. The blood python beast lords were even more furious. They who had always been able to do whatever they wanted in the land of the blood python couldn't even hold back a mere human. The king was at the entrance of the lair, staring at them. Boom! Chi! The attacks of the blood python beast lords were even crazier. Lin Feng's blade moves were even faster. His body emitted streaks of bloody light as he entered the dark demon state. Although he didn't want to reveal all his strength so quickly, he had no other choice. If he was seriously injured here, he wouldn't have any chance when he reached the entrance of the lair. Soon, Lin Feng's target was very clear. It was the entrance of the cave. After leaving the cave, the dark energy would be greatly reduced. The space ripples would become stronger, and the chances of escaping would be much higher. However, there were dozens of attacks landing on his body at every moment. No matter how strong the defense of the Mandarin duck tie was, and how strong the dark demon state was, Lin Feng couldn't take it anymore. His chest felt heavy, and he spat out blood. Ants could bite an elephant to death. 1-on-1, even 1 against 10, Lin Feng was confident that he could kill the blood python beast lords. However, facing hundreds of blood python beast lords, even a godly expert wouldn't be able to do anything. Boom! Lin Feng took on several heavy attacks. Voila! With the warm wings covering his body and the Mo Shui boat protecting him, Lin Feng used his injuries to push himself to the entrance of the lair. Even though his body was covered, he could still see a trace of light. In just an instant, that trace of light was covered. Like a dark cloud shrouding the cave, the huge body carried boundless dark energy and forcibly blocked the cave entrance, blocking the way out. It also blocked Lin Feng's hope. Die, human! Tiwan's appearance was extremely ferocious. Chapter 2088. Tiwan had been waiting for a very long time. Finally, the villain Li Feng had arrived. As he had expected, this villain had many tricks up his sleeve. He had turned the blood-maned lair upside down, but in the end, he was unable to escape from Tiwan's grasp. The most effective way to deal with all changes was to wait for the rabbit to appear by a tree stump. Now, The rabbit had finally arrived. Cheat! T1 directly swung out a claw. It was incomparably sharp. The mysterious inscriptions on the golden horn flickered, as if it was the embodiment of law. The Blood-Maned Beast King's talent was outstanding. They did not need to comprehend it. As long as they reached this level, they would naturally reach the origin realm. This was the same for many special life forms, such as the bloodthirsty Tree King. However, the Blood-Maned Beast King's attack was even more terrifying. Pong! The windswept boat was directly shattered. The wings of warmth trembled violently. Even though Lin Feng was in the absolute protection, he still suffered a huge impact. It was only a single claw. However, its power had already surpassed the combined attack of several Blood-Maned Beast Kings. Lin Feng spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes had already turned completely red. Intense pain attacked his heart, causing him to fall into madness. The Blood-Maned Beast King's attack was within his calculations. He could not escape or avoid it. However, this attack was something he could endure. Clang! The instant Lin Feng retreated, Hei Tung turned into countless rays of light. The saber move that he had been holding back for so long finally erupted. The sharp saber energy streaked across with resplendent light, seemingly shattering space. It was extremely fast. Chi! Lin Feng's defensive move directly blocked the Blood-Maned Beast King's second attack. Using offense as defense, Lin Feng's body came to a sudden stop. In an instant, he turned the tables and attacked the Blood-Maned Beast King. His blood-red eyes erupted with a shockingly powerful physique. He was not inferior to the Blood-Maned Beast King at all. There was no retreat. He could only attack and attack again. When enemies met on a narrow path, the brave would emerge victorious. After breaking the encirclement, Lin Feng finally met the Blood-Maned Beast King face to face. This battle couldn't be avoided, and there was no need to avoid it. Rather than facing hundreds of Blood Python Beast Lords, Lin Feng was more willing to face the Blood Python Beast King. 1 against 1. The chances were much higher than 1 against hundreds. Boundless weight. Lin Feng's saber moves became more powerful, and gravity forces formed naturally. He unleashed 100% of his ultimate saber mastery realm. The law all in his body resonated with the source of the Holy Land, and his power was greatly enhanced. This move was comparable to the power of a deity. It was even stronger than the Blood-Maned Beast King's claw. Even though there were several hundred Blood-Maned Beast Kings eyeing them covetously, there was no need to pay attention to them. With the Blood-Maned Beast King's arrogance, he naturally wouldn't allow them to interfere in the battle. The Blood-Maned Beast King's cold snort shook the entire Blood-Maned lair. The golden horn flashed brightly. With the same 100,000 origin realm, coupled with the instinctive attack, the Blood-Maned Beast King's claw contained the will of heaven, as if it was the secret technique itself. The dark energy gathered, and the Blood-Maned Beast King's attack power was boundless. However, the moment he clashed with Lin Feng, the Blood-Maned Beast King's expression changed. He felt a huge impact. Even though he had pushed back the human, he didn't have an overwhelming advantage. What? He's even stronger than that guy from the Destiny race. Instantly, Tawan stopped underestimating him. With one move, he already knew that his opponent's strength wasn't weak. The supreme Blood-Maned horn shone brightly, and streams of pure energy covered his entire body. Tawan, who had always been reliable, was the same even in battle. Bloodline eruption. In an instant, Tawan's strength surged, and his aura became even more powerful. Blood light condensed into scales, condensing 100,000 origin crystals. Every part of his body contained 100,000 origin mysteries. As a special life form, the Blood-Maned Beast's innate ability was naturally unique. This is troublesome. Lin Feng's expression was solemn. The situation was even worse than he had expected. The Blood-Maned Beast King's strength was also much stronger than he had expected. Although his intelligence wasn't high, his battle experience was steady, and he didn't show any flaws. He blocked the entrance of the cave first and cut off the way out. His attacks were also partly defensive, and he left a lot of trump cards. He didn't underestimate his opponent at all, and he went all out after just a slight test. He clearly knew his own goal. Very troublesome. If their strengths were similar, this kind of opponent would be easier to defeat. But when there was a difference in strength, this kind of opponent would be very troublesome. They were like a huge millstone, exhausting your strength bit by bit and grinding you into powder. Go all out. Lin Feng pushed his strength to the limit. The fourth stage of the Dark Devil pattern was extremely bright, and the secret patterns formed a perfect resonance with the law all in his body. Under the blood color, the connection with the black tongue was extremely tight, and the sacred land source madly released energy. 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade. Only death awaited him if he defended. Only by attacking and having an unyielding would he have a chance of winning. Boom, boom, boom. Lin Feng fought with his life on the line. Right now, he had no choice but to fight. Although his offensive power wasn't as good as the blood-maned Beast King, his will and fighting spirit made up for it, and the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade was even better. Even if Tawan was stronger and had a higher cultivation, he was still very passive. If he couldn't take the initiative, it would be very difficult to create true killing intent. Lin Feng was very clear about this, and he grasped Tawan's personality. Since the opponent was conservative and cared about his reputation, then he would use this point to fight. Maybe he would have a chance of survival. Boom, 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 boom. Even the sturdy blood python lair was shattered by the huge impact. Much of it was destroyed. The surrounding blood python beast lords all retreated to one side. Their eyes were filled with fear, not daring to approach. This kind of battle was far beyond their strength. Even if they wanted to interfere, they couldn't. Damn it, this human is really hard to deal with. Tawan felt a headache. He originally thought that this would be an easy battle. With his strength, he had the advantage and could finish off his opponent in 2 or 3 moves. But who would have thought that his bloodline wasn't enough, and his opponent seemed to have endless energy attacking continuously? Logically speaking, his energy should have been used up, but it wasn't. Although Tawan's strength didn't have an overwhelming advantage, it wasn't too far off. He was confident that he could defeat his opponent, but he didn't have the initiative, and the continuous fighting caused his old injuries to flare up. His soul, which had been injured by the soul shock of death, was already aching. Fighting would also use up energy. Especially when his bloodline was activated, his soul would also be activated, and his energy would be depleted. Although it was small, it couldn't be underestimated. Especially when his soul was injured, it would become bigger and bigger. Tawan's eyes flashed fiercely, and he roared furiously. Originally, he still cared about his reputation and didn't want to kill this human, especially in front of so many of his clansmen. But if this continued, the injuries to his soul would get worse, and it would take him hundreds of eras to recover. Die! Tawan's face twisted, and he looked extremely ferocious. Chapter 2089. T1 had erupted. T1, who was already a deity, had the amplification of the terrain. His strength was terrifying. Previously, Lin Feng had suppressed Master Chu in the Dark Demon Dao. Now, T1 was the same. They were both at the Origin Realm, but one of them had formed his talent and cultivated for a long time. One of them had just stepped in. Not to mention, T1 had completely unleashed his bloodline. Not only did his strength reach the Origin Realm, he was also the embodiment of darkness. Bloodline ignition. The scales on his body were blood red. T1 had condensed a shocking amount of darkness energy. He was determined to kill Lin Feng at all costs. Even if he had to exhaust a large amount of energy, he would not hesitate. If this dragged on, his soul would be damaged even more. The recovery of soul was much slower than the recovery of the body. Furthermore, the strength of the human in front of him had already made him feel threatened. To prevent any accidents from happening, he had to cut the Gordian knot and get rid of this human as soon as possible. Taking back the sovereign blood python horn was the most important thing. Pong, pong, T1 erupted, instantly taking back the initiative of the battle. His strength was above Lin Feng in all aspects. After igniting his bloodline, he was invincible. In the blood python lair, his strength had increased by more than several times. Lin Feng was covered in blood. Previously, he was barely able to match T1, but now he was completely at a disadvantage. If it were not for the fact that his dark demon Dao had reached the origin realm, he would have been killed by T1 already. However, as T1's strength continued to increase, it became more and more difficult to resist. He could not win by just relying on defense. I still underestimated the Blood Python Beast King's strength. Lin Feng gritted his teeth. He had already unleashed the Black Python's strength to the limit. Even the source of the sacred land and the law all were pushed to their limits. Right now, he could even win against the top 10 experts of the Origin Awakener ranking. However, T1 was too strong. Lin Feng already had the strength of a deity, and the Blood Python lair had increased his battle prowess by several times. Even if Lin Feng executed the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade, Mandarin Ductai flawlessly, he still could not reverse the absolute suppression in terms of strength. There were two paths. One was to run backward, and the other was to charge forward. Lin Feng instantly made his decision because he had no other choice. Behind him were hundreds of bloodworm lords, and it was impossible for him to break through again. Not to mention, there was also a terrifying bloodworm beast king. Although it seemed like there were many opportunities to escape, it was actually a dead end. He could only charge forward. As long as I can get out of the cave, I'll be able to use my Tao of Space, especially the Wings of Warmth. Lin Feng had his own trump card, but he had no confidence in using it here. The spatial energy was completely suppressed by the dark energy, and he could only use 10% of his warm wings. However, as long as he exited the cave, he would be able to unleash at least 80% of his power. Canoe ram. A huge, pitch-black wooden boat instantly flew out of Lin Feng's hand and rapidly expanded. Gathering his soul power, Lin Feng used his outstanding true treasure, the Mashua boat, to open a path. Clang! Hei Tong went straight for the blood-maned Beast King and did his best to tie him down. 10,000 annihilation. With the 100% realm of blades end and the strongest move of the 10,000 annihilation heavenly blade, Lin Feng went all out and pushed his power to the limit. Beads of blood burst out from his wounds, adding to his injuries, but he didn't care. He wanted to open a path. Dong! Lin Feng's head shook. The blood-maned Beast King, Tawan, caught the blade with his claws and swept his tail whip. His movement was incomparably fast, and he directly swept the Mashua boat away. With a rumbling sound, the Mashua boat crashed into the wall of the blood-maned lair, and rocks flew everywhere. Go! Lin Feng didn't care about the threat of the blood-maned Beast King's attack. Following the Mashua boat, he rushed towards the cave entrance again. Tried to escape. Stop dreaming. The blood-maned Beast King Tawan's eyes were red. With a roar, he bent his body, and the golden horn on his forehead collided with the Mashua boat. It was like two huge meteorites colliding, and the power was earth-shattering. Bang! Lin Feng was sent flying along with the Mashua boat. The blood-maned Beast King Tawan suffered a huge impact, and he wasn't in a good condition either. He was injured with a groan, and he was enraged. He, the blood-maned Beast King, was injured by a little human. Hua! The golden aurora shrouded, and the supreme blood-maned horn was incomparably bright. The pitch-black light turned into endless darkness and covered the entire blood-maned lair, turning it into hell. Rumble! Rumble! The earth shook, and the cave entrance collapsed. The blood-maned Beast King Tawan's face was ferocious, and his power was fully released. Lin Feng was forced into a desperate situation. Seeing the cave entrance collapse and blocking the only way out, the Mashua boat's attack collapsed. The hundreds of blood-maned Beast Kings behind him were eyeing him covetously, and he was in a situation of true death. The extreme excitement in the dark demon state and the extreme calmness in the depths of his soul merged strangely. At this moment, many vivid images appeared in his mind, like a movie. It was the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade that appeared when his bloodline broke through. A total of 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade moves appeared in front of him again. Move after move, move after move. The ancestor's figure perfectly merged with the moves, and the concept complemented each other, forming a perfect whole. Again and again. In just an instant, the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade had repeated tens of thousands of times in his mind. After thousands of years of hard work, Lin Feng already knew the entire set of blade moves by heart. Every detail, every control of power, he grasped it perfectly, and his blade's all-mastery had reached 100% perfection. He was just one step away from the peak. Opportunity. In this life and death situation, under the extreme state of the dark demon, Lin Feng's thoughts seemed to have suddenly cleared up. A shackle that had sealed him suddenly disappeared. The 5 moves of the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade merged perfectly, transforming into the body of his ancestor. Boom! 5 moves combined into one, splitting the sky, splitting the shackles, splitting the blades, all mastery. This move reached the peak. Boom! It was the same 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade, but with a different power. This step caused Lin Feng to transform and enter a new level. The 5 moves of the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade seemed to have transformed into 5 completely different moves, as if they had evolved. How magical! Lin Feng could not believe it. It was a set of guiding blade moves, but at different levels, it was completely different. In the blade's all-mastery level, the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade only guided blade moves and helped one understand the concept of blade moves. But at the peak of the blade, the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade instantly transformed into a blade move with unlimited power, and the hidden mysteries surged out like a tide. The power from before was not even 1/10 of what it was now. Needless to say, there was also an increase in the level. What's going on? T1 was even more shocked than Lin Feng. He was originally confident of victory, but the human's attack power inexplicably skyrocketed, and his strength directly rose to a new level. Damn it! Breakthrough in battle. T1 gritted his teeth, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. His blood was burning, and he became even crazier. So what if you have a breakthrough? No matter how strong you are, you can forget about escaping from the blood python's lair. Today is the day you die. Chapter 2090. Absolute Strength, Absolute Confidence. Blood Marmoset Beast King T1 had absolute confidence because he was a god-level expert, and this was the blood marmoset's lair. An ant breaking through was just becoming a slightly stronger ant. It was nothing. He still had the advantage. Boom, boom, boom. Blood Marmoset Beast King T1 was strong. Not only was he not affected by the attack, he became even more brutal. His combat style was steady and imposing, so he naturally wouldn't be caught off guard by a sudden change in the situation. T1 himself had experienced many battles and was very experienced. They were evenly matched. So strong. Lin Feng finally saw Blood Marmoset Beast King T1's strength. Even though he had broken through during the battle and reached the peak of the Blade Realm, he could only barely match T1. However, his injuries were too severe. If he had fought in such a state from the start, he might not have lost. But now the loss of blood had caused his strength to drop. The chances of him breaking through were getting smaller and smaller. This Blood Marmoset Beast King did not care about anything. Even if he was heavily injured, he would still block his path and not give him any chance. Such an opponent was extremely difficult to deal with. Injured, Lin Feng's heart jumped. That's right. If he was injured, Blood Marmoset Beast King should also be injured. He just killed Wu Jitian not long ago. Even if he is a special life form or a god-level expert, it is impossible for him to be unharmed after being injured by Wu Jitian's soul attack. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. Who was Wu Jitian? He was ranked 13th on the Origin Awakening list and was a high-level god-level expert. He was ranked 2nd in the Destiny race. How could he not pay a price for killing him? No wonder he used his full strength so quickly. He wanted to end the battle quickly to avoid adding more injuries to his soul. The moment Lin Feng and T1 clashed, golden light suddenly appeared around them. Sanskrit lines flashed and formed a huge bell. Dang, dang, clang. As the bell rang, Lin Feng's eyes brightened. The golden fan bell directly launched the soul attack. All the bell chimes gathered at one point, striking directly at the blood-maned Beast King. Tyvan was caught unprepared. The moment his sharp claws tore through Lin Feng's defense, he was shaken hard, as if he was dumbstruck. As expected, intense pain assaulted Lin Feng's heart. Lin Feng was severely injured by a single move. The armor was torn to shreds, and even the defense of the Wings of Warmth was shattered in an instant. However, the light in his eyes shone brightly. In an instant, his soul power was like a cannonball that blasted into Tawan's eyes and sea of consciousness. Lin Feng was incomparably crazy as he attacked recklessly. Boom! Devon was shocked by the golden fan bell. Instantly, he felt like his mind was pierced by tens of thousands of needles at the same time. The heart-wrenching pain made Devon scream hysterically. Pung! 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 The entire blood-maned Beast King's lair was about to collapse. The group of blood-maned Beast Kings were dumbfounded. They didn't know how to react. They had never seen their king like this. This kind of pain was like being skinned alive. Blood oozed out of his scales. Blood-maned Beast King's body trembled violently. His eyes were blood-red and lifeless. At this time, Lin Feng was not much better off. He was already heavily injured, and if he did not have the armor and warm wings to protect him, he would have been smashed to pieces. Coupled with the direct soul attack, just the recoil alone was enough to make him suffer. What he attacked was the soul of a God Realm warrior. Even if Lin Feng's soul was at a higher level, it was almost shattered by the soul attack. The pain he suffered wasn't any less than Tyvan's. Fortunately, he had the 10,000 origin mustard stone to protect his soul and nourish his energy. Whoosh! Lin Feng shot out like an arrow, heading straight for the blood-maned Beast King's lair. His will was on the verge of collapse. His body was bathed in blood. The intense pain gave Lin Feng an endless will to live. Black Skeleton turned into an extremely black light and broke through the shattered rocks in front of him. Rumble! The cave cracked open and a weak light appeared. Lin Feng used his unyielding fighting spirit to forcefully open up a path for himself. A path to leave. Wah! Lin Feng's figure flashed and disappeared. Inside the lair, Tyvan was bleeding from his 7 orifices. He had suffered an unprecedented injury. The group of blood-maned Beast Kings were dumbfounded. They couldn't react at all. Only after Lin Feng left did the blood-maned Beast Kings regain their senses. They were furious. The group of blood-maned Beast Kings hurriedly chased after Lin Feng. However, there was no trace of Lin Feng. Escape. After leaving the blood-maned Beast King's lair, where wasn't there a place to stay? However, Lin Feng's condition was extremely bad. His body was heavily injured, and his soul was also severely injured. His last attack had almost destroyed everything, so he couldn't gain any advantage. Fortunately, he had the 10,000 origin mustard stone, while the blood-maned Beast King didn't. As expected, Lin Feng clenched his teeth. Blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. Otherwise, he would have fainted already. If the blood-maned Beast King's soul wasn't injured, the golden fan bell alone wouldn't have been able to affect him. However, the blood-maned Beast King was affected. Even if it was only for 1/100th of a second or 1,000th of a second, it was enough to explain everything. His soul was injured. Therefore, even the elite true treasure, the golden fan bell, could affect him. Therefore, he dared to take the risk and launch a soul attack. Normally, such a soul attack was no different from suicide. After entering someone else's sea of consciousness, the power of the soul would be greatly weakened. The difference in strength didn't even matter. Fortunately, Lin Feng's gamble paid off. Unfortunately, I can't kill him. Lin Feng also wanted to take the chance to kill the blood-maned Beast King, but he couldn't. After the soul attack, his injuries weren't any lighter than the blood-maned Beast King's. His attack didn't even reach 10% of its peak. It was extremely difficult to break through the blood-maned Beast King's defense, not to mention the hundreds of blood-maned Beast Kings behind him. If he walked a little slower, he would die without a burial place. His soul is heavily injured. He will be unconscious for a while. Even if he chases after me, he will only see darkness. I don't have to worry about his threat during this time. The danger teleportation token flashed in Lin Feng's hand. The warm wings space shattered, and he escaped at his fastest speed. Behind him, there were countless blood-maned beast kings chasing after him. If he wanted to open a temporary passage and teleport away, he had to find a peaceful environment first. Run. The further he ran, the better. Lin Feng knew very well that the further he ran from the blood-maned beast kings, the fewer blood-maned beast kings chasing after him. The larger the area, the blood-maned beast kings would have to spread out to search for him. However, he couldn't hold on for long. His current injuries were even more serious than the blood-maned beast kings. Let's do it here. After 3 hours of escaping, Lin Feng had completely shaken off his pursuers. He escaped into a huge mountain, sealed all paths, and activated the danger teleportation token. Hua! A bright light flashed, and space energy gathered. In the void, a transparent passageway that was filled with extreme spatial laws had already appeared. Lin Feng gritted his teeth and directly stepped into it. Shua! His figure flashed. Chapter 2091. Meteorite Turbulent Flow Danger Zone. It was the oldest and largest void danger zone in the void turbulent flow danger zone. It was located at the center of the void turbulent flow danger zone and seemed to be connected to the universe. Because of this, meteorites would fall from the meteorite turbulent flow danger zone at every moment, landing on this huge continent. What's more, countless meteorites from outer space would appear. Once a race with a godly spirit realm expert was destroyed just like that, disappearing into thin air. But because of this, the meteorite turbulent flow danger zone contained endless opportunities that came from the void turbulent flow danger zone itself, from outer space, and so on. As long as one could survive here, one's strength would increase at the very least. Many experts had survived here in the void turbulent flow danger zone before returning to Origin Awaken continent and becoming one of the top 10 experts on the Origin Awaken list. The mortality rate was extremely high, and 8-star experts had almost no chance of survival. Bang! Lin Feng fell heavily on the ground. He only had a weak consciousness left, but at least he was still awake. Opening his eyes tiredly, Lin Feng scanned his surroundings. It was desolate and boundless. Looking up, the sky was gray, as if it was about to explode. The surrounding energy was extremely chaotic, but also very powerful. Reaching out his hand and feeling the surging elemental energy, Lin Feng revealed a weak smile. "I escaped," Lin Feng exclaimed softly. The sky of the bloody migration zone was black and blood red, but it was definitely not gray. The energy of the bloody migration zone was pure, dark energy, so powerful that it could even suppress other elemental energies. However, although the energy here was powerful, it was composed of countless types of energy, not just dark energy. From the intensity of the energy, it could be confirmed. He had arrived at the meteorite turbulent flow danger zone, the most mysterious and powerful void danger zone in the void turbulent flow danger zone. As expected of the meteorite turbulent flow danger zone, the intensity of this energy is too shocking. Lin Feng took a deep breath and felt the dark energy and light energy. The black whirlpool absorbed the spatial energy. Although the energy alone was not as powerful as the dark energy in the bloody migration zone, it was not far off. However, the overall energy was more than 10 times different. It's no wonder that so many experts are flocking to this place. Just cultivating here will yield twice the results with half the effort. Lin Feng struggled to get up. His body was still very weak, and his head was dizzy. If not for his willpower, he would have fainted long ago. Fainting here was no joke. He would become food for the ferocious beasts in minutes. Many of the mutated beasts and ferocious beasts here were special life forms. God-level experts were everywhere, and there were quite a number of God-level experts. Like the blood-maned Beast King and the murderous Tree King, they were all here. Let's find a place to rest and recover some Yuan Qi. Lin Feng looked around. Although he had escaped from the blood python's lair, the threat in this place couldn't be underestimated. Without the blood python land's geographical advantage, although his strength had broken through, he was still severely injured. If he encountered another beast that was as strong as the blood-maned beast king, he might not be able to escape. In a heavenly meteor turbulence danger zone, survival was the most important thing. My injuries are really serious. Lin Feng dragged his tired body and flew quickly. The warm wings disrupted space, and he was very careful. He had just arrived at the heavenly meteor turbulence danger zone, and everything was unknown, so he had to be cautious. This battle was worth it. Although he was covered in wounds, Lin Feng was very satisfied. He had been in the saber's consummate proficiency realm for a long time. The previous step from 99% to 100% was a natural step. The real breakthrough was the battle with the blood-maned Beast King. Not only did he break through the saber's consummate proficiency realm and peak at the peak of the saber, but he also cracked the mystery of the 10,000 obscuring heavenly saber. The 5 moves of the 10,000 obscuring heavenly saber were not just to guide the saber technique. Moreover, the 5 moves were combined into one. Under the peak state of the saber, there was an extremely powerful 6th move. It was the easiest to comprehend between life and death. When I recover my Yuan Qi and stabilize my realm, my combat strength can truly step into the god level. Lin Feng was very clear that to survive in this heavenly meteor turbulence danger zone, the strength of a god-level expert was the foundation. But to find secrets and opportunities, the strength of a god-level expert was indispensable. Here it is. Lin Feng quickly found a deep and serene valley. With a flash of his body, he entered the dense mountain forest. Although there were many ferocious beasts in the forest, this was only the outer region. There was no need to worry too much. Compared to the ferocious beasts, the human, demon, and monster experts with ulterior motives were the most terrifying. God-fallen world. Swoosh! Swoosh! 2 beautiful figures appeared at the border of the God-fallen world. Their bodies seemed to turn ethereal as they directly emerged from the God-fallen world. One of them was slightly taller and wore a long robe that seemed to turn into mist. Her aura was concealed. The other was wearing a neon green battle armor. She was a beauty that surpassed the heavens. Her small face reflected her clear facial features. It was Mystery and Lu Ying. At this moment, the 2 women's faces were pale. Obviously, they had used up a lot of energy, and their Yuan Qi was greatly damaged. Despicable. Lu Ying gritted her teeth, her almond-shaped eyes filled with anger. Let's go. Mystery pulled Lu Ying and quickly flew away. There were only 2 women. Patriarch Dong Huang and Tsang, you were nowhere to be seen. The moment the god-fallen world appeared, Mystery and Lu Ying ran away at their fastest speed. Even though Lu Ying was depressed, she could only swallow her anger. Both of them were seriously injured. They could barely use 1/3 of their strength. Obviously, there was more to it. They are too despicable. How dare they sneak attack us while we are fighting? Lu Ying was so angry that her eyes were filled with tears. We have always been at odds with the Void Dragon tribe. Moreover, the God-fallen world is changing this time. Great opportunities are appearing frequently. The Void Dragon tribe will not be polite to us. Mystery said, we can only blame ourselves for being too careless. We have already taken precautions, but we did not expect them to be so determined. That's right. Killing us will not benefit them at all. Lu Ying's full chest rose and fell rapidly. How can it not benefit them? At least there will be fewer people fighting for the cake. Mystery said, moreover, the Void Dragon tribe and the Milky Way's human tribe have been at odds for a long time. They will not miss the chance to hit us when we are down. Then where are we going now, third sister? Lu Ying bit her lips and held back her anger. I don't know. We will take one step at a time. Mystery's eyes were also a little empty. She did not know what to do. Swayer sighed softly. No matter what, let's leave here first. Don't trouble the Patriarch. Lu Ying nodded. I hope the Patriarch and the 3 of them are safe. Mystery's beautiful eyes looked into the distance. The Patriarch is powerful. They were able to hurt the Patriarch because he was protecting us. Now, there's nothing to worry about. Even if the Patriarch can't kill them, at least we can escape. Moreover, We have to go back and get the meteorite vortex. This time, even the God-fallen world has opened. This is a real great opportunity. After this reincarnation, whether the human tribe of the Milky Way will rise or fall depends on this. Chapter 2092. The forest was in a state of panic. A group of ferocious beasts wandered in the forest in fear, not daring to get close to the dark fog in the middle, as if something terrible was there. Among them, there was even a 9-star ferocious beast, the king of this forest. Whether it was vicious beasts or mutated beasts, they were all wild beasts in essence. They were extremely sensitive to danger. Their instincts told them that they could not approach the pitch-black mist. Lin Feng stood at the center of the mist. Strands of black energy seeped out from the demonic inscriptions on his body. The origin of the sacred land released an endless amount of powerful black energy. However, this was not dark energy that could be absorbed. Instead, it was dark demonic energy that possessed powerful offensive properties. The origin of the sacred land was no longer without an owner. Lin Feng refined the second sovereign blood, main horn. He did not need any fruits of the world. There was no fruit of the world that could compare to the sovereign blood main horn. This was the accumulation of the sovereign blood main beast's most essential bloodline. Refining the sovereign blood main horn could strengthen him in all aspects. His body, mind, and soul were all rapidly recovering as he refined it. Although it took slightly longer than the fruits of the world, it was also a part of cultivation. Of the 6 paths of darkness, the way of the dark demons is the most bizarre. It increases my foundation the most. The way of annihilation has the most powerful offensive power. After comprehending 100,000 origins and condensing them into an all of laws, my attacks will possess the laws of annihilation. My offensive power will increase tremendously. Lin Feng was no longer unfamiliar with 100,000 origin realm experts. Once he understood, all would be clear. With the way of the dark demons as a precedent, Lin Feng was completely confident in condensing the other alls of laws from the 6 paths of darkness. This was because he did not need to comprehend them, nor did he need too much innate ability. He only needed to refine them, and then use the inscriptions on the sovereign blood main horn to draw the same pattern. He would be able to condense a simple all of laws. Simple did not mean it was lacking. The Great Tao was simple. Every single sovereign blood, main horn, was a manifestation of the essence of the mysteries of the world. He did not practice any secret techniques. Even the simplest ones in the myriad heaven path were the crystallization of the blood and sweat of an extremely important figure in the universe. They were extremely powerful and difficult to grasp. Right now, what he lacked the most was time. No matter how high one's talent and comprehension ability were, cultivating a set of secret techniques would take thousands of years. It was not suitable for him to do so now. Refining the sovereign blood devouring horn was much simpler. It only required slightly more than 300 years. Even if he added the time needed to condense the law, it would only take him 400 years at most. Moreover, he would have to walk this path sooner or later. Every powerhouse had to go from great perfection to 100,000 origins. Refine and comprehend. In just a few short decades, Lin Feng's injuries had mostly recovered, including his soul, which was the most difficult to recover. Firstly, his soul was strong, and secondly, with the nourishment of the 10,000 origin mustard stone, it was naturally twice the result with half the effort. At this moment, Tyven, who was far away in the blood python's lair, wasn't so lucky. His soul was wounded again. Not to mention dozens of years, even dozens of eras might not be able to fully heal his soul. After recovering, Lin Feng began to refine his swordsmanship. The brand new 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade, the brand new peak of the blade, and the brand new 6th move. Everything had to start anew, and this would also be his capital to establish himself in the heavenly meteorite turbulence. After comprehending the 6 moves of the obscuring heavenly blade and reaching the pinnacle of the blade, his combat prowess would be comparable to a god-level powerhouse. No wonder I always felt that the obscuring heavenly blade wasn't simple. It seemed to contain some secret, but I couldn't find it. So it's because my realm wasn't high enough. Only by reaching the pinnacle of the blade can one truly unleash the mysteries of the obscuring heavenly blade. Different realms, different swordsmanship. It's clearly the same set of swordsmanship, but it's so strange. My ancestor is indeed extraordinary. Lin Feng sighed. His ancestor's strength was far beyond his imagination. However, my ancestor mentioned in the 10,000 Heaven Path that the true ultimate move has to be created by oneself. No matter how strong someone else's move is, it's still someone else's move. Learning from others is the main thing, and cultivation is secondary. Only by creating one's own move will it be the most suitable for one's heart, the most suitable for one's body, and the most perfect move. Lin Feng nodded. Previously, he still didn't fully understand. However, as he reached the pinnacle of the Blade Realm, he completely understood. The pinnacle of the Blade Realm was like a node. No matter what swordsmanship, it could erupt with terrifying power, but at the same time, it could only erupt with such power. There was an upper limit to the power. The upper limit was the shackles of the Blade Realm. Only the swordsmanship created by oneself had the chance to break through the shackles of this node and surpass that level. However, this was still too early for him. With my current strength, there's still a long way to go to reach the attack limit of that node. Lin Feng smiled. He would probably only be able to reach that node when he fully comprehended and unleashed the sixth move. This was probably the reason why his ancestor left the obscuring heavenly blade behind. The master led the way, but the cultivation depended on the individual. With a set of swordsmanship, one could bring the swordsmanship to a new level. After all, although the obscuring heavenly blade was magical, its level was still slightly low. To his ancestor, the secret techniques that he collected were all at the level of the obscuring heavenly blade, and they were not even worth his attention. It was the same for the obscuring heavenly blade. Even if the obscuring heavenly blade was very strong to him now, to his ancestor, that was still the foundation. Then I'll just have to lay down a solid foundation. Lin Feng closed his eyes, and every move of the obscuring heavenly blade appeared in his mind. He recalled every moment of his battle with the blood-maned Beast King. The black centipede in his hand seemed to roar, giving off a black glow. Hoot! Lin Feng was completely immersed in the swordsmanship. Day after day, year after year. After 100 years of silence, the small valley welcomed a group of guests. There were 7 of them. 5 of them were 8-star experts, and 2 were 9-star experts. One was black, and the other was white. The man was dressed in a long black robe. He had purplish-green hair, and his eyes were as black as the abyss. He looked like a beast, but also like a human. He was the Black Dream Dragon King. The woman was dressed in a tight white armor. Her beauty carried a hint of heroism. Her oval-shaped face was delicate, and her skin was as soft as water. She looked devastatingly beautiful, but she was actually quite strong. She was the White Dream Dragon King. The other 5 8-star experts were also full of fighting spirit. Their armor reflected the logo of the Tsang Dragon Auction House. I heard that there's a black fog in the forest ahead. Even the savage beasts stay away. There must be treasures in there. The Black Dream Dragon King's eyes shone like a fierce tiger. But there are several 9-star savage beasts in that forest. It's very dangerous. The White Dream Dragon King looked worried. Don't worry. 9-star savage beasts have basic intelligence and have territorial instincts. They'll kill their own kind. At most, we'll meet 1 9-star savage beast in one area. With our strength, there's no need to worry. The Black Dream Dragon King said. The White Dream Dragon King bit her lip. Since we're here, we have to give it a try. Our Tsang Dragon Auction House is near the bottom of all the factions. We have to seize this opportunity. The Black Dream Dragon King's eyes shone brightly. Let's go. Chapter 2093. The first move, Ashes to Ashes, focuses on fast attacks. The combination of light and darkness is both fast and ghostly, fully displaying the essence of fast. It's easy to combine them, but to attack separately, not only do I have to multitask, but I also have to find the rhythm. After reading a book 100 times, its meaning would be self-evident. To Lin Feng, cultivating the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade again was a completely different comprehension. After reaching the peak of the saber technique realm, all the mysteries contained in the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade surged out at once. It was very different from the previous 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade. When he was in the saber's end realm, the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade was like a battle saber sealed in its scabbard, guiding the battle and improving the saber technique. Now, when the battle saber was unsheathed, its power was endless. Just the first move, Ashes of Ashes, had taken Lin Feng tens of years of effort before he was able to make some progress. However, it was merely a combined attack. In order to display the true essence of speed, there was still a long way to go. Chi. One was the speed of light, and the other was the dark matter. The speed of the two could reach the limit. The path of light and the path of dark matter were the two great paths with the fastest attack speed among the great paths of elemental Tao. Moreover, light and darkness complemented each other, making it impossible to guard against. Fast, the power is reduced. When light and darkness overlap, the power erupts just enough to make up for this flaw. And to unleash the essence of fast, the key is the rhythm. The speed of the path of light and the path of dark matter are like a pair of stilts, one in front and one in front, forming a perfect connection. Continuous attacks are the most fatal. Moreover, light and darkness are different. The path of light and the path of dark matter emphasize different things. You can guard against one, but you can't guard against the other. As he practiced his saber, he refined it. Lin Feng cultivated wholeheartedly in this quiet valley. No matter how chaotic the meteorite turbulence was, it had nothing to do with him. If a worker wanted to do a good job, he must first sharpen his tools. It might not be a good thing if he did not increase his strength enough and participated in it blindly. Suddenly, Lin Feng stopped practicing. The black skeleton in his hand was still emitting an oppressive black aura. Lin Feng looked outside with bright eyes. Although it was covered by dense black fog, it was released by the source of the Holy Land, so it naturally could not block his eyes. Moreover, Lin Feng did not rely on his eyes to see. Tian Ho cultivated perception. Lin Feng's sensing ability was very strong. Not to mention the surrounding area, the entire mountain forest was within his surveillance range. As long as he wanted to, he could quickly find out what was happening in the mountain forest. After all, his soul had already mostly recovered. Blue Dragon Auction House? Lin Feng was slightly surprised. He sensed a familiar aura and a familiar figure. It was the Bai Jing Dragon King who had saved him that day. Although they had met by chance, they had a good relationship. He also recognized the other aura. It was another 9-star expert from the Azure Dragon Auction House, the Black Dream Dragon King, ranked 47th on the Origin Awakening list. I don't see the Gold Fiend Dragon King. Lin Feng had already scanned the area. The strongest of the Azure Dragon Auction House, the Gold Fiend Dragon King, was not present. Only the Black Dream Dragon King, the Bai Jing Dragon King, and 5 8-star experts were present. At this moment, continuous roars were coming from the 9-star ferocious beast, Tung Ji, and his subordinates. The two forces were fighting fiercely. They are too reckless. They barged in without investigating. Lin Feng shook his head. This mountain forest, and even the entire mountain valley, was the territory of the 9-star ferocious beast, Tung Ji. It was the king here. It had a group of ferocious beasts, including 4 9-star ferocious beasts. They were usually scattered in other parts of the mountain valley, and there was only one in the mountain forest. However, the mountain valley was not big. Tung Ji only needed to roar, and the ferocious beasts would gather. Moreover, there were many thorny trees in the mountain forest, making it difficult for them to escape. Including Tung Ji, there are only 3 9-star ferocious beasts. It is already very difficult. When the other 2 9-star ferocious beasts arrive, the Azure Dragon Auction House will definitely be defeated. Lin Feng could see clearly. Tung Ji was a very smart ferocious beast. In terms of strength, it was around the 40th to 50th place on the Origin Awakening list. Although he had never fought with it before, He had threatened it before. Therefore, even though it was flustered and exasperated, it did not dare to enter the black fog. However, the experts of the Azure Dragon Auction House were different. I was already in a fit of anger, yet they still came knocking on my door. Lin Feng smiled. He had already taken over a small part of Teng Ji's territory, and it was already very unhappy. Now that the people of the Azure Dragon Auction House had barged in, it instantly exploded with anger. What a joke! When a ferocious beast was angry, it did not care about anything else. Kill first, talk later. Looks like I have to help them. Lin Feng's figure flashed, and he left. Otherwise, the Beijing Dragon Queen would be in big trouble. Boom! Boom! In a mountain forest at the bottom of the mountain valley, the battle was intense. On one side was the group of ferocious beasts led by Teng Ji. Including him, there were 3 9-star ferocious beasts and dozens of 8-star ferocious beasts. Their battle strength was extremely strong, and they had the advantage. On the other side were the 7 experts of the Azure Dragon Auction House, led by the Dark Dream Dragon King and the Bai Jing Dragon Queen. They were currently at a disadvantage. Whether in terms of quantity or quality, the Azure Dragon Auction House was no match for their opponents. Damn it! The Dark Dream Dragon King had used all his strength, but the Beast King, Teng Ji, was tough. His huge tail was both offensive and defensive, and his battle strength was not inferior to the Dark Dream Dragon King. Whoosh! Whoosh! The Bai Jing Dragon Queen's movement technique was like a rainbow, her lithe figure weaving through the group of ferocious beasts. She seemed to be coming and going freely, but she knew that she was under a lot of pressure. She was holding 2 9-star ferocious beasts at the same time, and had to wait for an opportunity to rescue her 8-star experts. Her solemn, beautiful face had expended a lot of her yuan qi and was pale. Now, she could neither advance nor retreat. If she really wanted to leave, she and the Dark Dream Dragon King would have no problem keeping themselves alive. However, if she and the Dark Dream Dragon King left, her 5 subordinates, the elites of the Azure Dragon Auction House, would die here. If they did not leave, the situation would spiral out of control, and their chances of winning would be slim. If I had known, I would not have been so greedy. The Bai Jing Dragon Queen was filled with regret. She had thought that this was a great opportunity, and did not expect a small forest to be so terrifying. There were 3 9-star ferocious beasts, and they were in a group. This was only the outer region of the meteorite turbulence forbidden zone. The other void forbidden zones, even the core region, were not so dangerous. Any random ferocious beast would have such strength. Chi! The purplish-brown whip lashed out like a giant python, opening its bloody mouth. In the instant that Bai Jing Dragon King locked onto one of the 9-star ferocious beasts, she immediately charged towards the other one. She clearly knew that she was the breakthrough point. But at this moment, another deafening roar rang out, and a jade-green color appeared in the sky, covering the entire sky. A jade-green bat with the head of a tiger roared as it swooped down at lightning speed. Another 9-star ferocious beast. Pa! The Bai Jing Dragon Queen's whip was forcefully repelled, her face pale. How can this be? No. Chapter 2094. The 4th 9-star savage beast. Like the straw that broke the camel's back. The Bai Jing Dragon King, who was already in a precarious situation, shuddered and stumbled. Even her whip lost some of its spiritual chi and strength. They could no longer hold out against 3 9-star savage beasts, let alone a 4th. Besides, this 9-star savage beast was adept at flying, which meant it was adept at speed and hunting, adept at the Tao of dark matter. Run! The Bai Jing Dragon King only had one thought in her mind. If it had not run now, they would all die together. Losing 5 8-star experts would be a huge blow to the Grey Dragon Auction House, but it was better than her and the Black Dream Dragon King dying. The Grey Dragon Auction House only had 3 9-star experts. The loss of any one of them would be a huge loss, but if 2 of them died, the Grey Dragon Auction House was basically done for. The Black Dream Dragon King reacted the same way. He attacked repeatedly, forcing the Black Dream Dragon King back, looking for a chance to escape. But the moment the tiger-headed bat appeared, The ground shook violently, and a formless wave swept through the entire forest. Dong, dong, dong. Like the beating of a drum, the formless wave seemed to cause the surrounding area to freeze. This was the innate ability of the earth elemental, with strong restraining power. It's over. The Black Dream Dragon King's eyes darkened, and his heart sank. The fifth 9-star savage beast. And it was a fatal one, adept at control. It was like a huge net had been spread out, trapping them completely. They were already cornered by the Black Dream Dragon King, and now even their last chance had been wiped out. What to do? The Black Dream Dragon King was confused, and his movements were much slower. Even though he had been through countless battles, he had never been in such danger. It was like countless walls blocking all paths. The only way was to break through these walls, but he was powerless. Meteorite Turbulence Danger Zone. This is the heavenly meteor turbulence danger zone that causes people to tremble in fear upon hearing its name. The Black Dream Dragon King finally understood. The ancient books were so fearful of the meteorite turbulence danger zone. The dangers within were not exaggerated at all. This was a real danger zone that could kill even the top 10 on the Origin Awakener list. Even if I die, I'll drag you all down with me. Since there was no chance of survival, the Black Dream Dragon King had no more reservations. His eyes widened, and he exploded. If he killed one, he could break even. If he killed two, he could still make a profit. He hated it. On the other side, Bai Jing Dragon Queen saw He Yu Dragon King in this state. As his partner for countless epochs, she naturally knew what he was thinking. Her beautiful face was a little desolate, and her eyes were dull. No matter how unwilling she was to admit it, she knew that there was no chance of survival today. It wasn't that they were weak, but that their opponents were too strong. If he wanted to survive, it would take a miracle. Bai Jing Dragon King revealed a weak and bitter smile. Her white battle armor was already stained with blood. She had been injured by the claws of the tiger-headed bat that was charging over. Not only was it extremely fast, but its figure was also ghostly. Its attack power was also extremely strong, just enough to restrain her. It wasn't just the Black Dream Dragon King, the White Gem Dragon Queen, and the other 5 8-star experts from the Azure Dragon Auction House were all gathered in a circle. They were all praying and hoping for a miracle that didn't seem to exist. Suddenly, a black figure abruptly appeared in the forest. It was as if he had been here all along, but no one knew where he had come from. He was alone, holding a black saber. He looked very young, and in front of the huge, ferocious beast, he was very small. However, his face was calm and unruffled. Whoosh, whoosh. The eyes of the Black Dream Dragon King and the White Gem Dragon Queen instantly lit up. Someone else was here. There were other experts here. A glimmer of hope rose in their hearts. The Black Dream Dragon King and the White Gem Dragon Queen instantly widened their eyes, and their movements quickened. However, when they saw the appearance of the black figure, they stood rooted to the ground, their faces filled with disappointment. Lin Feng, they recognized Lin Feng, and were even more aware of his strength. This was because they were the ones who had saved Lin Feng that day. Why is it him? The Black Dream Dragon King was devastated. His last glimmer of hope had been extinguished. If it had been one of the top 10 experts on the Origin Awakening list, they would have been able to survive. However, it was an ordinary human expert who couldn't even protect himself. Lin Feng. The White Gem Dragon Queen muttered softly. Her beautiful eyes widened, and she shouted, "Go! Go quickly!" As she shouted, the White Gem Dragon Queen lashed out furiously with her long whip, entangling the 9-star rhinoceros beast that was about to attack Lin Feng. The White Gem Dragon Queen bit her lips until they turned white. Every one of them that could survive was a blessing. She was already at death's door and didn't want to be a burden to Lin Feng. Roar! The 9-star rhinoceros beast that was entangled by the long whip was even more enraged. It turned around and charged at the White Gem Dragon Queen. A strong stench assaulted her, and the White Gem Dragon Queen tried to block it. However, her footsteps were heavy, and the Earth-type beast in the distance launched another attack. Boom! The White Gem Dragon Queen's injuries worsened. Her white battle armor was blood red, and her aura was greatly weakened. At this moment, a black flash appeared. The tiger-headed bat had appeared out of nowhere, shrieking miserably. Its black vortex-like claws clawed at the white gem dragon queen's palm-sized face, intending to crush it. Fast as lightning. Am I going to die? The white gem dragon queen was not afraid. Her white face was calm. Death was nothing to be afraid of. However, if she had a choice, she still wanted to live. Chi-Chi. The tiger-headed bat shot out ferociously. Its eyes were filled with bloodthirst and recklessness. It seemed to know that it was about to take the life of this human expert. However, in the next moment, a white flash appeared. It was so fast that it couldn't be seen. The body of the tiger-headed bat froze in midair. Instantly, it exploded into a ball of bloody light. Even when it died, it didn't know what had happened. Another furry rhinoceros beast was charging at the white gem dragon queen with its hooves. Suddenly, the space changed. A black flash appeared out of nowhere and strangely slashed across its neck. Chile, countless cracks appeared on its neck. In an instant, blood splattered everywhere. Its neck was broken, and its huge body fell to the ground. After twitching a few times, it was completely dead. Chi. One white and one black. Two flashes of light flashed past like lightning, disappearing without a trace. However, they were as powerful as heaven's might. Every attack would take away the life of a 9-star beast. Boom! The bare-headed beast that used its Earth-type ability fell into a pool of blood. Pala! A 9-star beast with 6 hooves and 2 tails was swallowed by the darkness, dying without a complete corpse. The white gem dragon queen was stunned. The black nightmare dragon king was stunned. 4 9-star beasts, each with their own strengths. Each of them was incomparably ferocious. However, they were all lying in pools of blood, deader than dead. All of them had been killed by a single strike. And all of this had been caused by that puny human, Lin Feng. Chapter 2095. It was just one person and one battle blade. Lin Feng was like a hunter, killing the beasts one after another. The intertwining of light and darkness was like the most beautiful music playing in the forest. A miracle happened. The Beijing Dragon King's heart was beating very fast. She stared blankly at the human youth that she had once saved. She did not expect him to be so powerful now. The strength of each of the 4 9-star ferocious beasts was almost the same as her. However, in front of Lin Feng, they were like little chicks, unable to resist at all. The difference in strength was too great. Roar! Roar! The armored beast roared furiously. It knew from the beginning that this elite in the black fog was not to be trifled with, so it did not dare to provoke him and swallowed its anger. Who would have thought that in the end, it would still provoke this jinx? Bang! A ball of flames was spat out. The demonic spine fled frantically. It was completely terrified. Its 4 strongest subordinates were turned into ashes in an instant. It could feel how powerful this human was. Running, Lin Feng smiled slightly. The light divine pattern and dark demonic pattern intertwined and merged into one, forming the most refined and direct blade. Turning into ashes. Ashes at the peak of the blade. The perfect fusion of light and darkness. The path of light speed and the path of dark matter combined to form this powerful blade. It was the pinnacle of the blade. Boom! The fastest blade was also Lin Feng's strongest blade at the moment. Wherever the blade went, the escaping demonic spine fell to the ground. The terrifying energy intertwined and nibbled at the demonic spine's defense. Its scales were cut open and blood gushed out. It was severely injured. Woo! The demonic spine let out a painful cry. It looked at the terrifying human and begged for mercy. It was very smart. Its instincts told it that any stubborn resistance would be useless. Facing such a terrifying human elite, only death awaited it. Submit. Lin Feng looked down at the demonic spine and landed in front of it. His black dagger was pointed at the demonic spine's neck. He only needed to land it to kill it. The demonic spine let out a cry and crawled on the ground. All right. Lin Feng immediately used the soul contract. Just as the ancient books say, The ferocious beasts are smart and know how to act. Even so, Lin Feng did not expect that he would be able to subdue the Dark Tortoise Ridge. However, a 9-star vicious beast was of little help to his current combat strength. After all, it had stayed in the heavenly meteorite turbulent flow danger zone for a long time. While subduing it, he had also obtained information about the heavenly meteorite turbulent flow danger zone, which was very useful. Woo, huff, roar, even the tenebrous spine had submitted, so the other ferocious beasts naturally didn't dare to attack anymore. They all prostrated themselves on the ground to show their respect. The 5 8-star powerhouses of the Azure Dragon Auction House looked at each other in dismay. They didn't think that they would survive. Thank you for saving our lives, Senior. The 5 8-star experts bowed their heads gratefully. Although they did not know Lin Feng, with his strength, he was more than 10 times stronger than the two of them. Calling him Senior was completely from the bottom of their hearts and was extremely respectful. Thank you for your help, Senior. Oh, Brother Lin. The Heiyu Dragon King bowed, even though he was still in shock. He wanted to call Lin Feng Senior, but Lin Feng's strength had completely stunned him. However, after thinking about it, he changed it to a more intimate form of address to get closer to him. It's really you, Lin Feng. The Beijing Dragon King stared at Lin Feng as if she didn't know him at all. It's been a long time, Dragon King. Lin Feng smiled at the Beijing Dragon King. Why? Have you forgotten what I look like? The Beijing Dragon King rolled her eyes and pursed her lips. No, I just didn't expect it. Lin Feng smiled. He knew what the Beijing Dragon Queen meant. Looking at the Black Dream Dragon King's shocked expression, he knew that before he entered the void turbulence, he was only an 8-star expert. He had been chased to the brink of death by Wu Rai. If not for the Beijing Dragon King's help, he would have been dead. But today it was completely different. We've been apart for more than 3 years. We've been apart for more than 300 years. Naturally, many things are different. Lin Feng and Beijing Dragon Queen were old acquaintances. Naturally, he was very casual. The Beijing Dragon King's beautiful eyes flashed, and she shook her head gently. But you've changed too much. The Beijing Dragon King was also a little reserved. Lin Feng's strength had shocked her greatly. Even the Heiyu Dragon King, who was much stronger than her, was like a little brother in front of Lin Feng. He stood respectfully at the side and welcomed him with a smile. That was the Heiyu Dragon King, ranked 47th on the Origin Awakening list, the second in command of the Azure Dragon Auction House. When had she seen him like this? I had a small fortuitous encounter. Lin Feng didn't say too much. His hands flashed, and the source of the Holy Land released streaks of black mist. The smell of blood was completely devoured, and the forest returned to normal. The Heiyu Dragon King and the Beijing Dragon King stared at each other. Only when Lin Feng retracted the black mist did they regain their senses. Brother Lin, this black mist is your treasure? The Heiyu Dragon King asked carefully. You could say so. Lin Feng answered. The Heiyu Dragon King's face turned bitter. So the rumored land of black mist in this forest. If I cultivate, Lin Feng said. You guys aren't here for this, are you? The Heiyu Dragon King and the Beijing Dragon King looked at each other, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. After all this time, they had thought that there was some great opportunity and rushed into this forest. But it turned out to be like this. Kiki, the Heiyu Dragon King scratched his head awkwardly. A mistake, a huge mistake. Lin Feng smiled. It's nothing much. You guys aren't seriously injured. Take it as training. That's the only way. The Beijing Dragon King sighed. The meteorite turbulence impasse is too dangerous. No wonder the Milky Way human tribes Enigma and Firefly King are planning to leave. Enigma? Firefly King? Lin Feng was surprised. Dragon King, you've seen them before? We bumped into them by chance. They should be injured, and their auras are unstable. The Beijing Dragon King pointed into the distance. We came from there, and they went in that direction. Third sister and fifth sister are injured. Lin Feng frowned. And they were planning to leave the meteorite turbulence impasse? Shouldn't they be moving with the tribe leader and the Kanjia Emperor? Lin Feng felt that something was wrong, but he could not make a judgment. Thank you for the information, Dragon King. I have something to do, so I'll take my leave. Lin Feng bade farewell to the Bai Jing Dragon King and the He Yu Dragon King. In a flash, he rushed in the direction the Bai Jing Dragon King had pointed. With Lin Feng's departure, the forest returned to its peaceful state. The Bai Jing Dragon King and the He Yu Dragon King looked at each other and smiled bitterly. There was an indescribable shock and bitterness in them. Who would have thought that the brat from back then would be so strong now? The He Yu Dragon King sighed. Yeah, who would have thought? The Bai Jing Dragon King's beautiful eyes sparkled. Even our leader isn't that strong, right? The He Yu Dragon King asked. The Bai Jing Dragon King shook her head. The gold thug can kill these 9-star beasts, but it won't be that easy. It will take some effort. Lin Feng, if I'm not wrong, he should already be in the top 10 of the Origin Awakening list. Top 10 of the Origin Awakening list? Kiki, probably. This is incredible. Yes, it is indeed inconceivable. Chapter 2096. Lin Feng left the valley. Although he had yet to fully comprehend the first move of the 10,000 obscuring heavenly blade, he had no time. His intuition told him that third sister and fifth sister were in danger, and he had to find them as soon as possible. Injured and leaving the meteorite turbulence danger zone. It seemed normal, but it wasn't. Patriarch and the others are moving together. There's no reason for them to separate. Either something happened to them, or something happened to third sister and fifth sister, so they separated. It was normal for them to be injured in the meteorite turbulence danger zone. Tempering and exploring, which one could not be injured. The Milky Way human tribe came to obtain treasures, so it was expected that they would be injured. What was unusual was that third sister and fifth sister were preparing to leave, because there was still more than 6,000 years before the turbulence void closed. To recover, they didn't need to leave. The biggest possibility is that they are being hunted down. Secondly, they have urgent matters to attend to and have to leave. The worst-case scenario is that Patriarch and King Sangyu were killed or missing, and third sister and fifth sister escaped. There were too many possibilities. Therefore, Lin Feng couldn't wait and didn't even have time to catch up with Bai Jing Dragon King. He had to find third sister and fifth sister as soon as possible. However, the meteorite turbulence danger zone was quite big, and looking for two people was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Tungji, Lin Feng shouted in his heart. Master. Ironclad Tungji's voice was weak. Among the special life forms, Tungji's intelligence was relatively high. Although it couldn't be compared to the god-level Blood Main Beast King, it was much higher than the Blood Main Beast King. It already had basic intelligence, so communication wasn't a problem. Do you know the location of the nearest land that hit the meteorite turbulence danger zone? Lin Feng asked. To leave the void danger zone, one must first return to the land fragment outside because there was a void door that led to the outside world. There were many land masses that hit the meteorite turbulence danger zone, and the largest one was the second landmass. Tungji was very familiar with this area. If there was a landmass that hit it, there would be some reaction, so he should know. I know, Tungji replied. Give me a seat. Lin Feng was not surprised. Suddenly, a map-like mark and route appeared in his mind. From mountains and rivers to forests and grasslands, they could be seen one by one. The nearby area was very familiar to Tungji. Lin Feng immediately rushed in the direction of the sign. Subduing Darkspine was a wise choice. Although its battle strength could not help much, and it was injured, in terms of familiarity with the heavenly meteor turbulent void, it was incomparable to the masters of Origin Awakened Continent. This was its territory. In 3 days at most, we'll reach number 2 land. Enigma's red lips were pale, her eyes flashing. They shouldn't have chased after us, right? Firefly gritted her teeth. Enigma looked straight ahead. I'm not sure. We were traveling at the speed of light. They were held back by the Patriarch. Even if they caught up with us, it would be too late. We don't know if they're behind us. At this moment, the speed of the two women had decreased sharply. He was already injured to begin with, and it was difficult for him to maintain the speed of light. It had to be known that this was the heavenly meteor turbulent void. It was not easy to maintain the speed of light. The resistance, pressure, and gravity were all extremely great. I hope they didn't chase after us. Firefly's chest rose and fell slightly. Enigma said, "Their target is the treasure of God-fallen world, not us. They should not chase after us. Also, Deadly Poison Rose and Master Chew are not here. Wind Rider Dragon cannot do anything to us. The only thing we need to be wary of is Great Python King." Firefly frowned. Void Dragon Race and Deadly Poison Rose working together. They can completely suppress us. Enigma said, "Great Python King is slightly stronger than me. Under normal circumstances, you and I would not be afraid of him if we worked together. But right now," Enigma frowned slightly. Her injuries were more serious than Firefly's. It was already good that she could use 50% of her strength. Great Python King's ranking on the Origin Awakened list was 2 places higher than hers. His strength was 1 level higher than hers. If he chased after them, it would be troublesome. What if it is Dragon Emperor Jiankong and Ghost Clawing Dragon chasing after us? Firefly asked. A faint smile appeared on Enigma's face. If it is them, we have no chance of survival. However, they have to deal with the Patriarch and steal the treasure of God-fallen world. There is no reason for them to waste so much time on us. God-fallen world is a race against time. All the factions are fighting for territory. We are not the biggest threat. Even if we take a step back, the Patriarch will not let Dragon Emperor Jiankong escape. He will fight to the death. The only thing we need to worry about is Great Python King. He is the most likely to chase after us. Deadly Poison Rose is most proficient in escaping and chasing. Firefly sighed. If only Second Brother was here. Yes. Enigma raised her head and said with a slight smile, "If Second Brother was here, we would not need to be afraid of Great Python King. Even the Void Dragon Race's Vice Patriarch Ghost Clawing Dragon would be on par with him. This time, when we return to the race, I will take care of the race. Second Brother will be here. This is the best choice for the race." Firefly smiled. "Third Sister, let me take care of the race." After entering the Meteor Turbulence Forbidden Land, especially the God-fallen world, I can't help much. Now that I think about it, it was the right decision for Seventh Brother not to come. Although we have reached the 9-star level, compared to the real masters, there's still a big gap. Enigma looked at Firefly and said, "Don't worry. You're still young. Cultivate steadily. You and Seventh Brother are both from the Milky Way. You are very talented. In the future, you will become very strong, just like the Patriarch and Second Brother." Firefly nodded and revealed a smile. Whoosh, whoosh, like 2 streams of light, Enigma and Firefly were getting closer and closer to land number 2. Suddenly, Enigma's expression changed. A ray of colorful light rose from her body. A white halo was released and made a slight buzzing sound. Firefly did not sense anything, but her reaction was very fast. She was ready for battle immediately. "Come out," Enigma shouted. She turned around and looked around. Firefly and Third Sister Enigma were back to back. Their faces were pale. Until now, they had not sensed any aura. This feeling was very scary. Whoosh, space was disordered. Suddenly, a white stream of light seemed to be released from the interlayer of space. A figure slowly came into the eyes of the 2 girls. From the initial nervousness to the rising battle intent, finally, Seventh Brother? Seventh Brother? Enigma and Firefly were stunned. The newcomer was wearing a black armor, with huge black wings behind him and a familiar smile. Wasn't he their 7th brother, Lin Feng, who was cultivating in the Tranquil Heart World? Why was he here? Long time no see, 3rd sister, 5th sister. Lin Feng smiled. Chapter 2097. They were happy. A relieved smile appeared on Enigma's face, while Firefly let out a long sigh. "Really, you scared me to death." Firefly rolled her eyes at Lin Feng and pouted. Enigma asked curiously, 7th brother, why are you here? Lin Feng said, because I was in the critical period of my cultivation, I didn't enter with you. I was 500 years late. After that, I was lucky enough to come here. I met Black Dream Dragon King and White Dream Dragon King and learned your whereabouts, so I came here to find you. Enigma and Firefly were enlightened. They did run into people from the Blue Dragon Auction House. Otherwise, who do you think I am? Lin Feng asked with a smile as a bright light flashed in his eyes. Firefly was about to say something when Enigma interrupted. Nothing. We thought some ferocious beast wanted to attack us. We didn't expect it to be you. This place is different from other forbidden lands. It's dangerous even for 9-star experts. Seventh brother, why don't you come back with us to the clan? Lin Feng glanced at Enigma and Firefly and nodded with a smile. Okay. He could see that third sister and fifth sister seemed to have something to hide. He was not in a hurry to ask. Since they wanted to leave, he would accompany them. After all, this place was not far from the second land. The three of them soon set off. Lin Feng's arrival made Enigma and Firefly happy. As they got closer to the second land, the pressure in their hearts decreased a lot. When they returned to the clan, the sky cleared up. By the way, seventh brother, how did you do it? Why couldn't I sense your energy? Enigma asked curiously. She looked at the huge black wings on Lin Feng's back and asked, is it because of this space treasure? Lin Feng gave a non-committal reply and nodded. The wings of warmth, an outstanding treasure. You're so lucky, seventh brother. Firefly's eyes were filled with envy and she pouted. We're not so lucky. We finally found the treasure, but someone beat us to it, and everyone has their own luck. Enigma smiled and interrupted. It's a good thing that seventh brother has such good fortune. The patriarch said that seventh brother has the most potential to reach the top 10 of the Origin Awakening list in the future. If he becomes stronger, the human race of the Milky Way will become stronger as well. Now that seventh brother has obtained a treasure, this trip to the chaotic void space has been worth it, and he can return with us. After all, the heavenly meteor chaos forbidden land is still too dangerous. Enigma wanted to say something, but hesitated. His face was solemn. Lin Feng glanced at Firefly and stopped at Enigma. We're all on the same side. Third sister, if there's anything important, just say it. Enigma smiled and nodded. It's nothing. When we were fighting for treasures in the God-fallen world, we encountered the Void Dragon tribe and the ultimate lethal elite. We were no match for the two forces when they joined forces. It was only under the protection of the clan leader that fifth sister and I managed to escape. It's them again. Lin Feng frowned. Firefly was surprised. Seventh brother, you also met them? Enigma also looked at Lin Feng in surprise. Lin Feng smiled and said, I didn't meet them here. I just met a few 8-star elites and happened to know about it. So that was it. Enigma and Firefly were enlightened. They were still thinking that if Lin Feng had encountered the elites of the two forces alone, how could he have escaped from their hands? Even if it were them, without the protection of the clan leader, it would be impossible for them to escape. The two forces were both second-tier forces. Once they joined forces, they could threaten the first-tier forces, Ziwei Star Tower and Destiny Race. With Lin Feng joining them, the three of them were immediately happy. For Enigma and Firefly, they were very lucky to have met seventh brother Lin Feng here. They didn't want seventh brother to fall into the heavenly meteor chaos forbidden land. If that happened, their tribe would lose a future super elite. For Lin Feng, being able to find third sister and fifth sister safe and sound was enough for him. As for whether there were pursuers behind them, he couldn't detect them for now. But even if there were, he could deal with them with his current strength. Unless it was the Void Dragon race and the Fatal Limit, the others, what was there to be afraid of? Ahead of us is land number 2. Enigma turned around and said to Lin Feng, we came with the clan leader. We were lucky enough to enter the heavenly meteor chaos forbidden land. We didn't have to take many detours and got the token to enter the God-fallen world. God-fallen world, Lin Feng murmured. The heavenly meteor chaos forbidden land was the core area, just like the blood centipede lair was the blood centipede land. To enter, one needed a token. Seventh brother, which land node did you go to? Firefly asked. Number 3, Lin Feng answered. Then I entered the fallen serpent land. After going around in circles, I just arrived at the heavenly meteor chaos forbidden land. Fallen serpent land? Enigma and Firefly's eyes lit up in surprise. Seventh brother, you're so wasteful. The fallen serpent land is the best of the 7 void forbidden lands. It's safe and has many treasures. It's the most suitable place for 9-star experts. Firefly said helplessly, "Third sister and I both want to go to the fallen serpent land, but we can't find the void gate." "Yes, seventh brother. It's a pity." Enigma smiled. She knew that seventh brother Linfeng was young and hot-blooded. He wouldn't be content with staying in the fallen serpent land, which was less dangerous. Linfeng smiled and didn't say anything. Looking ahead, he could vaguely see the outline of land number 2. Suddenly, Linfeng frowned. He sensed 3 unfamiliar auras in front of him. One of them was on par with third sister. The other was even stronger than Demon King He and Qi Zhen, who he killed earlier. It was strange that they appeared on land number 2. The Void Dragon race and the Deadly Limit are really ruthless. Linfeng was almost 80% certain in his heart. The Void Dragon race and a limitless fatal expert wanted to kill third sister and fifth sister. The Meteor Chaotic Danger Zone was vast and boundless, and there was no target at all. It would be difficult to find them. It was better to go to land number 2 and wait there. If third sister and fifth sister wanted to leave, they would have to go through land number 2. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Linfeng, Enigma, and Firefly were running at top speed. Enigma, who was running at the front, suddenly changed her expression. A white light condensed around her body and turned into a bright halo. She pursed her red lips and was ready to fight. Whoosh! Firefly's expression also changed. She reacted quickly. Linfeng landed beside the 2 girls and stopped. He flapped his huge black wings and his eyes sparkled. In front of them, 3 unfamiliar figures with powerful auras slowly appeared. One was silver-white and exuded the aura of a dragon. Its huge scaled tail slapped the ground and looked at them covetously. Next to him was a monster with a human head and a python body. It was dark green and had 2 cold fangs. Its red eyes were extremely cold-blooded. The scariest thing was the aura behind them. It was a giant dragon with a gloomy skeleton and black chi coiling around it. Heavy silkworm silver dragon, great python king. Enigma clenched her teeth. Her eyes were full of fear. Finally, she looked at the ghostly skeleton dragon and said with a trembling voice, "Ghost Clawing Dragon." Chapter 2098. Heavy Silkworm Silver Dragon was the 5th strongest of the Void Dragon race and 48th on the Origin Awakening list. His strength was on par with Firefly. Great Serpent King was the 3rd strongest of the Fatal Limit, just behind Poison Rose and Master Chu. He was 31st on the Origin Awakening list, 2 places higher than Enigma. He came from an assassin organization, so his battle strength was often stronger than his ranking. Enigma was most afraid of Great Serpent King. She was not a match for Great Serpent King, even in her best condition, not to mention now that she was injured and could not even use 50% of her strength. Just the Heavy Silkworm Silver Dragon and Great Serpent King were enough to defeat her and Firefly. There is also an extremely terrifying existence behind Great Serpent King and the Heavy Silkworm Silver Dragon. Ghost Clawing Dragon. He was 23rd on the Origin Awakening list and the vice leader of the Void Dragon race. He was even stronger than Shi Dingshan. Being ranked 30th on the Origin Awakening list was the dividing line between high-class and mid-class god-level experts. Ghost Clawing Dragon alone was enough to defeat Enigma and Firefly in their best condition. The purpose of the 3 experts coming together was obvious. They not only wanted to defeat Enigma and Firefly, but also kill them. They would not give them any chance to survive. So slow, we have waited for a long time. Great Serpent King bared his fangs, his voice sharp and unpleasant. Firefly's face was green, and she could not speak. "What? You did not expect this." Great Serpent King squinted his eyes and grinded his fangs, his huge tail like a whip whipping the ground. "I guess that you 2 cowardly bandits would be scared out of your wits after that battle, and could not wait to escape." "Ha ha!" Beside him, Heavy Silkworm Silver Dragon laughed loudly, his eyes filled with disdain. Enigma's expression was serious as he stared at Great Serpent King and then glanced at Ghost Clawing Dragon. "The treasure of the god Fallen Domain is unearthed. You let go of such a great opportunity and came here to chase us. You are really stupid." "The one who is really stupid is you, woman," Ghost Clawing Dragon said with a deep voice and cold disdain. Even if the treasure is unearthed, we might not be able to get it. The Emperor's Star, Tower, Thorn, and those solitary cultivators, which one of them is easy to deal with? The Spirit Clawing Dragon said coldly. Not to mention those monstrous and tyrannical special life forms from the land of extremities. But chasing you too is different. If I kill you, I'll get at least 4 excellent true treasures. Also, I can weaken the strength of the human race of the Milky Way. Now, do you think it's you or us who are stupid? His voice was arrogant, disdainful, and unbridled. Grasping Ghost Dragon raised his head slightly and looked at Enigma disdainfully. It was a feeling of being in control of everything. He enjoyed this feeling very much. Seeing Enigma's pale and ugly face, his heart was filled with boundless pleasure. Firefly's delicate body trembled slightly, and Enigma's face was also pale. They knew very well that they would most likely die today and would not be able to escape this calamity. Of course it's because you're stupid. A sudden voice broke the oppressive silence. Lin Feng, who had been standing beside Enigma and Firefly, took a step forward and shielded the 2 girls behind him. Seventh brother. Enigma and Firefly shouted in surprise. The Ghost Clawing Dragon, the Great Python King, and the Heavy Silkworm Silver Dragon were all stunned. They had never seen Lin Feng before. Although he had seen him beside Enigma and Firefly, he did not sense any aura. He thought that he was just an ordinary 8-star expert of the Milky Way human tribe. 7th brother? Another 9-star expert of the Milky Way human tribe? They were old rivals. The Ghost Clawing Dragon naturally knew about the human tribe of the Milky Way. He stared at Lin Feng with undisguised murderous intent in his cold eyes. Do you think the human tribe of the Milky Way is a pushover? Stupid. Stupid to the extreme. Boom. The moment Lin Feng's voice fell, his aura instantly soared. The pitch-black wings of warmth suddenly spread out, and the space was instantly distorted. Combined with the great Brahma realm, it instantly enveloped the Ghost-Clawing Dragon and the others. It was extremely fast. The dark demonic pattern mixed with the divine pattern of light reflected Lin Feng's amazing power. His aura exploded in an instant, and the black skeleton in his hand made a violent clanging sound. Chi! 2 aurora, 1 white and 1 black, were cast almost at the same time. The 1,000 obscuring heavenly blade turned to dust. The fastest blade, which was also Lin Feng's current strongest blade, went straight for the Great Python King and the Ghost Clawing Dragon. Their faces suddenly changed, and they hurriedly blocked it. At this time, Lin Feng's figure had already disappeared. Bang! The barbarian blood and the skeleton went straight for the weakest heavy silkworm silver dragon. The latter was completely stunned. Its strength, which was ranked 48th on the Origin Awakening list, was simply unable to withstand a single blow from the current Lin Feng. Even before entering the blood python's lair, he could easily kill it, let alone the current Lin Feng. His strength was close to that of a deity expert. Boom! The heavy silkworm silver dragon's head went blank, and a silvery white light appeared all over its body. Before it could recover, it felt an intense pain in its heart, and its consciousness collapsed. Blood burst out of its huge head, and it died without a burial place. It did not even have time to defend. Mystery and Firefly were completely shocked. Before they could react, an extreme white light flashed again. Countless light shadows intersected, and the space twisted like shadows appeared. The Great Python King, who was still boasting shamelessly, let out a mournful roar. Dark green liquid splashed out, and its body trembled violently. Its demonic body was torn apart in an instant, and then it was twisted into pieces by the space, turning into nothingness. Mournful screams rang out incessantly, shaking the earth. However, not a single drop of the highly toxic liquid splashed out, and it all disappeared. Too fast. The heavy silkworm silver dragon and the Great Python King died, tragically, in an instant. Zhang Guilong's eyes almost popped out, and he was extremely shocked. The huge dragon body could not stop trembling. That was the fear that came from the bottom of its heart. Waves of cold air kept emitting from its body, and it hurriedly set up all its defenses. Suddenly, it opened its mouth and roared. Streams of dragon breath were spewed out crazily. At this moment, he knew that he had kicked an iron plate. This newcomer of the Milky Way's human tribe, whom he had never met before, was terrifyingly strong. He was comparable to the patriarch. Stupid, extremely stupid. That cold voice was still echoing in his ears. The murderous expression and the battle saber had already appeared in front of him. It was extremely fast, extremely powerful, and even the control of the elemental energy was completely suppressed, surpassing the great perfection. How was this possible? Jean Guilong was really scared. As they both cultivated the Tao of darkness, he could feel the direct suppression of the realm. That was a power of a higher level. It was a complete suppression, and there was no way to resist. Boom! Boom! Wherever the saber passed, it turned into streams of light. The ghost-clawing dragon's defenses collapsed in an instant. Facing Lin Feng, who was stronger than it in every aspect, it was defeated in just a few moves. The huge body and powerful strength that was so proud of could not even withstand a single blow. Bang! Jean Guilong fell heavily to the ground. Wherever the darkness reached, it was directly devoured. Ranked 23rd on the Origin Awakening list, the Void Dragon Tribe's deputy patriarch, who was ranked 2nd, shattered like a mirror and died tragically under the saber. Holding the black skeleton in his hand, Lin Feng's expression was calm. He floated in the air like a king looking down from above. His huge wings spread out, and there was not even a drop of blood on his body. His aura was as strong as that of a god, unparalleled. 1 against 3, and he won completely. Below, Enigma and Firefly's hearts shook violently, and they were dumbfounded like fossils. What happened just now? Chapter 2099. Enigma and Firefly were shocked speechless. 2 pairs of beautiful eyes were wide open as they looked at the familiar figure. But at this moment, it was incomparably strange. Was this the 7th brother they knew? Even when Lin Feng defeated Sanya that day, they were not so shocked because the victory that day was not entirely due to Lin Feng's true strength. But today, Lin Feng faced the great Python King, who was stronger than Sanya, and the ghost-clawing dragon, who was even stronger than 2nd brother Shurdingshan. They were all easily killed. Hand raised, blade fell. The 3 great powerhouses were like 3 wild rabbits waiting to be slaughtered. They were directly finished off in 3 kacha sounds. Those were the super powerhouses ranked 31st and 23rd on the Origin Awakening list. What did they become so weak? 7th brother is too strong. Enigma stared at the familiar figure in the void, and an indescribable feeling welled up in her heart. Envy, lamentation, surprise, and a little disappointment. She and 5th sister were ready to fight to the death just now so that 7th brother Lin Feng could save his life. Who would have thought that everything would be over before they even made a move? 7th brother, who she wanted to protect just now, turned around and protected her, killing the 3 top powerhouses of the Origin Awakening continent. Amazing! 7th brother, you're amazing! Firefly had already reacted. Her beautiful eyes flickered nonstop, and she was beaming with joy, like a charming flower blooming. That was the ghost-clawing dragon, the Void Dragon Clan's deputy patriarch. He actually died under your blade. Firefly excitedly ran to Lin Feng and looked at the ghost-clawing dragon skeleton. She snorted and stomped her feet. This bastard wanted to kill us before. Serve him right. He really thinks that the Milky Way's human clan is easy to bully. We have a secret weapon. Firefly's charming voice made Enigma smile. Too exaggerated. However, she was right about one thing. 7th brother Lin Feng was indeed the secret weapon of the Milky Way's human clan. No one knew that his strength would be so tyrannical that he could easily kill powerhouses on the Origin Awakening list. Of course, there was an element of the opponent underestimating him, but more of it was true strength. They had witnessed it with their own eyes. What happened to you during these 3,000 years, 7th brother? Enigma looked at Lin Feng with indescribable shock and curiosity. I had a fortuitous encounter. Lin Feng put away his battle blade, Black Scorpion, and gently flapped his wings of warmth, restoring the chaotic space to its original state. He smiled at third sister Enigma and fifth sister Firefly. Just in time, let's dampen the arrogance of the Void Dragon race. Third sister said worriedly, but there's still ultimate fatality. If you kill the Great Python King, Poison Rose and Master Chu will definitely know about it. By then, Lin Feng smiled and said, Third sister, didn't you say before? Poison Rose is in the God-Fallen world. Moreover, the God-Fallen world is currently in a state of intense competition for treasures. How could she have the time to care about me? That's true, but Poison Rose is vicious and merciless, and her strength is tyrannical. Even the clan leader is somewhat afraid of her. Enigma pursed her red lips lightly, and her expression was solemn. Coupled with the extremely deadly second-in-command, Master Chu. Master Chu is dead, Lin Feng said directly. Huh? The two girls were startled again. How did he die? Enigma asked subconsciously. I killed him. Lin Feng was also frank. Looking at the two dumbstruck girls, he said, Previously, I killed Magic Flute, so Master Chu came to find me for revenge. Unfortunately, he came too late. Coincidentally, my strength had improved, so I killed him on the way. Even Magic Flute was dead? Enigma and Firefly smiled bitterly. This seventh brother of theirs was really amazing when he did not make sound. Ultimate fatality, his vitality has been greatly damaged. Seventh brother, you're really crazy. First, you offended the Heaven's Mandate tribe. Then you used ultimate fatality. Adding the Void Dragon clan, wouldn't you have enemies everywhere? Firefly said, I'm afraid it's not just that. Lin Feng sneered. At least, there was the Blood Succubus Beast clan. In this place, the Blood Succubus Beast clan was not inferior to the major forces in the Origin Awakened continent. Just the two Blood Succubus Beast King were enough to make him suffer. Not just that, the two girls were speechless. With enemies everywhere, it was simply inconceivable that seventh brother could live until now. Seventh brother, you should go back with us. There are too many enemies. It's too dangerous in the Meteor Void danger zone. Enigma advised. Yes, seventh brother, you're already so powerful now. The next time the Void Turbulence opens, your strength will be on par with the Patriarchs. At that time, you'll make a move and kill them all. Firefly made a killing gesture. Enigma said, Fifth sister is right. Now it's better to keep a low profile. Don't show off so much. Lin Feng smiled. Let me think about it. Third sister, fifth sister. Let's go to the second land first. All right. Enigma and Firefly did not persuade much. One's strength, one's right to speak. Seventh brother Lin Feng's current strength was first class among the 9-star experts. No matter what decision he made, it was actually very normal. Even if he stayed, seventh brother Lin Feng had enough strength to protect himself. Soon, third brother went deep into the second land. There were no pursuers behind them, no threats to their lives, and seeing that seventh brother Lin Feng now had such tyrannical strength, Enigma and Firefly's faces bloomed with smiles, and the pressure was swept away. They were very happy. Seventh brother Lin Feng became stronger, which was the same as the clan becoming stronger. They were naturally proud of the clan becoming stronger. And now, the Void Dragon clan had lost 2 generals and was greatly weakened. If the Void Turbulence Void closed, the strength of the Void Dragon clan would definitely fall to the 3rd level, and they would no longer be a match for the Milky Way human clan. Let's stop here, seventh brother. Firefly said, Okay. Enigma nodded gently and looked at Lin Feng. Have you decided, seventh brother? Lin Feng smiled. Third sister, you should be able to guess. Enigma sighed helplessly. Showing off your ability, you can't hide it no matter how hard you try. Since you want to go, just go. The Patriarch said that the real strong are honed in blood and war. In the past 3,000 years, I believe you must have suffered a lot to have such strength. And the great samsara can only be encountered by chance. It's not bad to take a gamble. Moreover, The Milky Way human clan is too weak in the God-fallen world now. The patriarch and fourth brother Tsang, you are far from enough. Lin Feng nodded. Sixth brother Su and did not enter the heavenly meteorite turbulence void because of his lack of strength. This is the God-fallen token. Seventh brother, take it. Enigma took out a black token and handed it to Lin Feng. I was going to give it to second brother, but now it may be more useful to give it to you. With the God-fallen token, you can enter the God-fallen world. Go help the patriarch and show your strength. Let them see the secret weapon of the Milky Way human clan. How strong is it? Lin Feng took the God-fallen token and felt the warmth on it. Filled with anticipation for third sister Enigma, he held it tightly and smiled faintly. Don't worry. Leave it to me, third sister. I'll enter the God-fallen world now and help the patriarch. Chapter 2100. Patriarch was right. Enigma smiled. When the patriarch gave you so many resources that day, the other elders were quite critical. Now it seems that I really admire the patriarch's foresight. Enigma sighed softly. Although I'm the deputy patriarch, I'm far from the patriarch's foresight. You're joking, third sister. Lin Feng felt warmth in his heart. That day, he had received so many benefits from the patriarch, but he didn't know that the patriarch had done so many things behind his back. Now that he thought about it, he had just joined the Milky Way human tribe and didn't contribute anything. He was unfamiliar with the place, but the patriarch helped him without hesitation and gave him a lot of resources. It would be strange if the tribe didn't make any noise. By the way, third sister, you gave me the God-fallen token. What about you? Lin Feng asked. Enigma said, I don't plan to come back. I was injured this time, and my combat power is less than 50%. It will take at least a few hundred years to recover. It's better to return to the tribe and handle things for second brother. With second brother's strength, entering the God-fallen boundary will increase our strength a lot. Brother sure? Lin Feng smiled. Maybe he couldn't hold back and entered the turbulent void long ago. Enigma said no way. Lin Feng shrugged. When he said goodbye to Brother Sure, he felt that Brother Sure had changed. After the battle with him, Brother Sure completely understood that Brother Sure was most likely in the turbulent void, but he didn't know which void he was in. If so, then it's troublesome. Enigma frowned. I was going to let second brother go to the meteorite vortex and hand it to the patriarch. Meteorite vortex? Lin Feng knew that there was one in the contribution tower. It was rumored that there were only 3 meteorite vortexes in the entire Origin Enlightened continent. What's the use of the meteorite vortex? Lin Feng didn't understand. Enigma looked at Lin Feng, pursed her lips slightly, and said softly, I don't know the details, but the patriarch mentioned that the meteorite vortex is related to the great secret of the God-fallen boundary. This time, the great samsara happened and the God-fallen boundary opened. The 4th and 5th meteorite vortex appeared one after another. Now, we have no advantage in competing with the other forces. But fortunately, we already have one, so we just need to take it. At that time, if anything happens, we'll be able to react immediately. Lin Feng suddenly understood. Meteor vortex, this was something that would only appear in the heavenly meteor chaotic flow danger zones. Throughout the endless great eras, Origin Awakening continent only had 3, but this time, a 4th and 5th appeared so quickly. There was clearly something else going on. No one would believe that the great cycle of reincarnation had nothing to do with this. Third sister Enigma was right. The sooner they got their hands on the meteorite vortex, the better it would be for them to deal with any changes by sticking to the status quo. It's fine, third sister. If second brother isn't here, I'll send it over, Firefly said with a smile. I know the way to the God-fallen world, so there won't be any trouble. Mystery frowned. We've now formed a grudge with the Void Dragon race and extreme fatality. Fifth sister, you're alone here. It's very dangerous. It's not dangerous. I'm here, Lin Feng said with a smile. Mystery's beautiful eyes lit up. That's right. She had almost forgotten that seventh brother Lin Feng's current strength was even stronger than her second brother's. He could easily kill the ghost-clawing dragon in a 1-on-3 fight, So what was there to be afraid of when facing a powerhouse like the Great Python King? Third sister, you and fifth sister should go back quickly. I'll wait here for you and help fifth sister, Lin Feng said. How long will it take? A few decades if fast, a few centuries if slow, Mystery said. All right, go and come back quickly, Lin Feng replied. Anyway, he needed to practice his saber art and refine the sovereign blood main horn. He had no choice but to leave the valley before, so he could take this opportunity to cultivate quietly and improve himself. That's great, Mystery said happily. Wait for me, seventh brother, Firefly winked playfully. Be there or be square. Be there or be square. Lin Feng said goodbye to the two girls with a smile. After saying goodbye to Mystery and Firefly, Lin Feng immediately settled down on the second continent. Unlike the dangerous meteorite vortex, the second continent was very safe. A newly subdued dark spine could basically sweep through it. It was also easy to sweep through the treasures on the second continent. However, for the current Lin Feng, the treasures on the second continent were of little use. After finding a quiet place, Lin Feng immediately went into seclusion to cultivate. Ashes to ashes. It's powerful in a one-on-one fight, and even more powerful in a group fight. The key is to find the rhythm and connect the Tao of light speed and the Tao of dark matter to find the point of balance. Only then can it be continuous and flawless. Next is the level of light and darkness fusion. If I go one step further, it will directly increase the power. Lin Feng knew the meteorite vortex was different from the land of blood. Although the element of darkness here was rich, it was not as rich as the land of blood. Moreover, with all kinds of elemental energies mixed together, the power of light and darkness fusion was far more powerful than a single element of darkness. However, his light rune was only at the third level, far inferior to the dark rune. A certain opportunity was needed to improve the bloodline, but fusion was different. 7 basic levels, light and darkness fusion is 2 levels higher. The 5th level, close fusion, is comparable to the highest level of other elemental energies, fusion as 1. If it can be upgraded to the 6th level, perfect fusion, the power will be even more extraordinary. Lin Feng's eyes flashed with confidence. The formation of the All of Laws not only increased the level of the Great Path and elemental energy, but also improved the insight and understanding of the Tao of Laws. What did fusion depend on? In itself, fusion and realm are closely related. The higher the realm, the easier the fusion. For experts with a high enough realm, the 7 basic levels of fusion could be completed almost instantly. To Lin Feng, the problems that had troubled him during the fusion were already clear. In less than 100 years, the light and darkness fusion can reach the 6th level, perfect fusion. The current Lin Feng was equivalent to taking a huge step forward and surpassing a level. Although his life level had not reached the level of a god, his combat power was comparable. He was already half a step into the threshold. Everything was naturally different. The improvement of his realm was faster than expected. In less than 50 years, Lin Feng's light and darkness fusion had reached perfect fusion. However, he was still unable to take the next step and reach fusion as 1. After all, this was the 7th level of basic fusion. It was very difficult to fuse 2 elemental energies, let alone light and darkness, which were 2 opposite energies. Lin Feng was not in a hurry. At the same time, his saber technique had also improved significantly. He kept practicing Ashes of Ashes, accompanied by countless ferocious beasts on land number 2, and slaughtered thousands. Finally, he found the key point in the battle. The first move of the 10,000 obscuring heavenly saber, Greater Mastery. Today, Lin Feng's combat power had truly reached the level of a god, comparable to the top 10 of the Origin Awakening list. I'm back. Lin Feng stopped practicing his saber, and the black skeleton shook slightly. A smile appeared on his face. He had already sensed the arrival of 5th Sister Firefly. She had obviously obtained the meteorite vortex. It was time to set off. To the God-fallen world. Chapter 2101. 5th Sister, this is for you. Lin Feng took out a pair of crystal-clear, angel-like wings and handed it to fifth sister Firefly. A flying-type, outstanding, true treasure. Firefly's beautiful eyes lit up in surprise. Women liked beautiful treasures, not to mention an outstanding true treasure that was extremely compatible with them. Yes, it's of the light element. Lin Feng had the warm wings, so he didn't need this pair of angel wings. Moreover, this flying-type, outstanding true treasure was designed for women, so it would be out of place if he wore it. It was just right for fifth sister Firefly. First, she lacked a flying-type true treasure, so her life-saving ability was lacking. Second, she also cultivated the path of light, so light-type treasures would be most effective in her hands. Third, he didn't lack outstanding true treasures. He had gained a lot from the Blood Python lair, and he had killed a group of Origin Awakening list powerhouses. Now, he had more than 10 outstanding true treasures, so it was useless to have more. He didn't have time to use his true treasures one by one in battle. It was better to be proficient in one than to master all of them. Then I won't be polite, seventh brother. Firefly gladly accepted. She and Lin Feng were both in the Milky Way, so they were closer. Moreover, she knew that Lin Feng's current strength was almost at the level of the Patriarch. Giving away a mere superior true treasure was nothing to him. Lin Feng nodded with a smile. By the way, fifth sister, did anything happen outside? Firefly replied with a smile. The Origin Awakening list powerhouses have all entered the void turbulence. How could there be anything? Everything is normal. As you expected, second brother isn't in the clan. According to the elders, second brother entered the void turbulence 2,000 years ago. Second brother is too impatient. He didn't even care about the clan and just left. Lin Feng smiled. Second brother, whose heart of a powerhouse had been aroused by him, was not willing to be lonely. He didn't want to stay in the clan any longer. It was only a matter of time before he entered the void turbulence. Moreover, everything in Origin Awakening continent was stable. The clan's affairs were handled by the elders, so second brother didn't need to worry. Now that third sister is in charge of the overall situation, there's naturally no problem. Lin Feng smiled. Take it, seventh brother. A light flashed in Firefly's hand, and a star-shaped special treasure was handed over. It was like a vortex that was sucking in everything. Every time it absorbed, it seemed to have life force. There was no elemental energy, but it was not a pinnacle or superior true treasure. Instead, it was the treasure that all the major powers of Origin Awakened continent were fighting over. Meteorite vortex. Can't you just take it? Fifth sister, why are you giving it to me? Lin Feng was puzzled. Firefly rolled her beautiful eyes. It's safe with you. Even if third sister is here, you will definitely keep the meteorite vortex. This way, even if something happens to me, at least I won't lose the meteorite vortex. Lin Feng laughed involuntarily. With fifth sister strength, how could anything happen to you? Stop flattering me. Firefly pouted and mumbled. You can defeat me with just a finger now. The God-fallen world is so big. There are a lot of people stronger than me. It's too dangerous to leave the meteorite vortex with me. Lin Feng looked at Firefly. I won't let anything happen to you, fifth sister. Firefly rolled her eyes at Lin Feng. Not only have you become stronger, but you've also become nicer to talk to. It's the truth. Then I'll leave my life in your hands. I'll do my best until I die. Okay. The two of them went straight to the God-fallen world together. In the human clan of the Milky Way, Lin Feng was the closest to second brother Shi Dingshan and fifth sister Firefly. They were all from the Milky Way, so they were more tied and close. Although the clan leader was also from the Milky Way, there was a huge gap between their status and strength. There was always a gap between them. The journey was frightening, but not dangerous. It was safe. After traveling in the Blood Python lair, the danger level of the meteorite vortex was greatly reduced for Lin Feng. Although there were all kinds of ferocious beasts, many of which were stronger than the Blood Python beast horde leader, they had the strength of a god spirit realm expert. They could travel unimpeded. Firefly was worried and surprised at first, but she gradually got used to it. Even Ghost Dragon and Great Python King were not a match for seventh brother Lin Feng. What were these ferocious beasts? The meteorite vortex was very big. It would take at least a few hundred years to reach the God-fallen world. Lin Feng was not in a hurry. Although the clan leader and fourth brother Tsang Yu were weak at the moment, distant water could not put out a nearby fire. Moreover, with his strength, he might not be able to help much if he really entered the God-fallen world. After all, the clan leader was much stronger than him. He could not deal with opponents that the clan leader could not deal with, and he could not deal with them either. Seventh brother, where are we going? Aren't we going to the God-fallen world? Firefly was slightly startled and asked around. She had escaped from the God-fallen world, so she knew the path to the God-fallen world. It was normal when they had just come out of land number 2, but after a few years, seventh brother Lin Feng had started to deviate from the path. It was obvious that they were not going to the God-fallen world. We're not going to the God-fallen world, Lin Feng replied with a smile. Firefly let out a soft exclamation, her beautiful eyes sparkling. Then where are we going? You're not planning something bad, are you? Lin Feng laughed involuntarily. Don't worry, fifth sister. Why would I harm you? Firefly giggled. I'm just joking. Didn't you just enter the meteorite vortex not long ago? Seventh brother, why do you seem so familiar with this place? The meteorite vortex was very big and had all kinds of elemental energies. There were also countless treasures and opportunities. Although this place was dangerous, it was also full of opportunities and unknowns. It was not inferior to the other 6 forbidden lands combined. I know a little. Lin Feng stretched out his right hand and pinched his thumb and index finger. I subdued a vicious beast before. It has lived here for tens of thousands of years. It knows a lot about the treasures in the meteorite vortex. Tens of thousands of eras. Firefly's eyes widened. What did you subdue? The special life form Dark Spine, Lin Feng said. Firefly's beautiful eyes widened. A 9-star vicious beast? Lin Feng immediately released Dark Spine. Its huge body covered the clouds and the sun as soon as it appeared. Its roar was as loud as thunder. Although its injuries had not healed, Dark Spine had recovered a lot of energy. It was naturally happy and excited to see the sun again. Firefly was a little dazed. She could feel the aura of this special life form Dark Spine was much stronger than hers. Seventh brother Lin Feng could subdue such a powerful, vicious beast. The conditions to subdue it were very harsh. Not only did the body's strength have to be at least a level higher than Dark Spine, but the soul also had to be a level higher to be able to withstand it. Sit on it if you're tired, fifth sister. Dark Spine can also reach the speed of light, Lin Feng said with a smile. The place we're going to next is what it told me. Chapter 2102. Lin Feng was not in a hurry to enter the God-fallen world, because he knew that it was both heaven and hell. Countless opportunities were buried in the God-fallen world, but at the same time, endless killing also existed in the God-fallen world. Various forces competed, and various experts battled. Even someone as strong as Dong Wang, who was ranked 6th on the Origin Awakening list, was at a disadvantage. Could he turn the tide if he entered? Lin Feng was not conceited to such an extent. There's still time. The secrets of the meteorite whirlpool have not been fully unlocked. Meteorite whirlpools are still emerging. The God-fallen world is now at the peak of the killing. This is not the best time for us to enter. From fifth sister Firefly, Lin Feng had already learned quite a bit of information about the God-fallen world, including the current situation. The God-fallen world was now a giant furnace. With the emergence of the meteorite whirlpool and the rise of other treasure lands, various forces and special life forms in the void turbulence were fighting fiercely to snatch everything. The strong preyed on the weak, and only the fittest survived. Therefore, the Fatal Limit and the Void Dragon race worked together to give the Milky Way's human race a heavy blow. So now we are. Firefly looked at Lin Feng with her big eyes. Although she was older than Lin Feng and had become a 9-star expert earlier, she was like a little sister at the moment. She looked at Lin Feng with curiosity and reverence in her eyes. Go to the glorious light Holy Land to improve our strength, Lin Feng said. Glorious light, holy land. Firefly's eyes lit up. Is it related to the great path of light? She was cultivating the path of light. Lin Feng nodded. Not only Firefly, but he also needed to strengthen the path of light. His bloodline had already solidified. Unless he gave up on the divine pattern of light and focused on the dark pattern of light, his light cultivation and dark pattern must go hand in hand. After obtaining the dark light ball and combining it with the origin of the Holy Land, his dark pattern of light could easily cross the bottleneck and enter the 5th stage. But because of the limitation of the light cultivation, he could not improve it. The Thousand Heaven Tao, the Tao of fusion, was his cultivation path, and he could not deviate from it. Tao Ji's footprints cover more than 60% of the heavenly meteorite chaotic flow danger ground. Although there are many treasure grounds, they're either too far away or have been occupied before. Although there are many treasure grounds, they are not very useful. For us, increasing our strength and cultivation is especially important. The brilliant sacred land is most suitable for us. As long as I can transform there and become a butterfly, when I enter the God-fallen world, I will be a powerful force to help the clan leader and 4th brother Sanya. Firefly's beautiful eyes sparkled as she nodded slightly. She didn't have any ideas. In any case, she didn't intend to be of any help. However, after hearing what her 7th brother Lin Feng said, she was somewhat moved. Her strength had been shackled at the same place for a long time, unable to improve. He had thought of all sorts of methods, but none of them worked. Since that was the case, why not follow 7th brother and open up a new path? Is it dangerous there, 7th brother? Firefly asked. Danger? Lin Feng smiled. Just a little. That place is the territory of a special life-form tribe called the Brilliance Ladybug in the heavenly meteorite chaotic flow danger ground. Brilliance Ladybug? Firefly was slightly surprised and muttered, never heard of it. However, since it's a ladybug, it should be very ordinary. Amen. Relieved, Firefly didn't think too much about it. In any case, with her 7th brother Lin Feng, there was no need for her to worry. Lin Feng smiled faintly. There was nothing to say right now. Once they reached the Brilliance Sacred Land, 5th sister would naturally know. To him, the danger was indeed little. It was almost at the level of the blood python lair. In terms of peak combat strength, the Brilliance Ladybug race was inferior to the blood python race. However, they also had their advantages. For example, quantity. We're almost there. Lin Feng woke Firefly, who was cultivating on Tao Ji's back. The Brilliant Sacred Land wasn't very far. They arrived in just 87 years. During the journey, 5th sister Firefly didn't stay idle. She seized the time to merge with the white wings of light to increase her survivability. With Tao Ji carrying her, she naturally didn't need to waste her energy on the journey. However, Lin Feng couldn't. Firstly, his perception was stronger than Firefly's. Secondly, he was stronger. He had to stay awake, just in case. After all, this was the heavenly meteor turbulence Forbidden Land. It wasn't a joke. In fact, they had encountered several fierce battles along the way. If Firefly was leading the way, it wouldn't be so easy. Thirdly, Lin Feng didn't care about it. In any case, the most urgent thing for him to do now was to refine the supreme blood python horn. He could refine it while traveling. He still felt that 87 years was too little. Including the time he had spent on the 2nd continent, he had only refined half of the supreme blood python horn. It would still take a long time to completely refine it and condense it into an all of law. What vigorous light energy! 5th sister Firefly woke up. She stood on Tao Ji's back and looked into the distance. Yeah, Lin Feng's divine light pattern also trembled slightly. It wasn't fear but excitement. The heavenly meteor turbulence Forbidden Land had many cultivation treasures. All kinds of elements intersected. But in terms of light elements and the great Tao of light, the glorious sacred land was definitely one of the best. Otherwise, they wouldn't have nurtured such a strong branch like the glorious ladybug. It was indeed a ladybug. But because of the glorious sacred land, it became extraordinary. Lin Feng stepped into this light territory and bathed in the warm light. The whole area was filled with endless light, like a paradise in the divine world. He could touch the vigorous light energy just by raising his hand. In terms of density of light energy, this place even surpassed the core of the land of blood python, the blood python lair. Because the light energy in the heavenly meteor turbulence forbidden land was more vigorous than the dark energy in the land of blood python. Glorious sacred tree. Lin Feng's figure flashed and landed in front of a giant tree that was condensed from light. The fruits on it were like balls of light, beautiful. Shua, shua, shua. With a thought, Lin Feng plucked the light ball fruits on the tree. Fifth sister. Lin Feng threw 2 fruits. Fifth sister Firefly caught them, and her beautiful eyes instantly lit up. Her smiling face also became rosier. The fruits contained the essence of light energy, which was a great tonic for martial artists who cultivated the lineage of light. This was a fruit of pure energy, and its essence was like the blood essence of human experts. It was already endowed with bloodline power. Not bad. Lin Feng directly swallowed and refined 2 fruits. Warm currents flowed in his body, and the divine light pattern shone like a child. He was very excited. The strengthening of his bloodline was like climbing steadily, and it felt incomparably comfortable. However, as expected, these fruits aren't so easy to pluck. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he looked into the distance. In the sky, a patch of pure white light emitted a buzzing sound, completely enveloping the entire heaven and earth. They were coming.